The home of primetime with Isaac and Sue, always live on the Odyssey app, is KFXX KWJJ HD2 Portland, 1080 The Fan, an Odyssey station.
There's been some nice pieces. Matt Collins, Keon Coleman, Shakir's been good. Amari Cooper can beat man coverage. Amari Cooper can get open. And he's had some drops this season. I don't want to forget about that. But if those go away, then this is a massive addition.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
And this ball smokes center field and deep. That sends Thomas back. He's now circling under it. He's not going to get it. It is out of here. There's the home run for Judge. A high, majestic shot to center field that just got over the wall. And the Yankees now lead it 6-2.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brandon Sprague.
Pate along the boards, a pinch down by Alexiak. McCann, Everly with a shot. He scores! Hey, hey, what do you say? Jordan Everly, 5-3, Seattle.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, 6:02 in the Rose City. Time for Dirt and Sprague on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan. Hump Day! Happy Hump Day, everybody.
What is happening?
I had no idea who that hockey person was until they said at the end.
You're not doing that hockey yet? You're not in on hockey season? It is here,
the new
buddy.
captain of the Seattle Kraken, Jordan Everly, with his third goal of the season.
Why don't you check the TV ratings? Nobody's hockeying
Come
right
on,
now.
we're doing the hockey. It's hockey season, man.
No,
it is
really.
here, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, somebody forgot to tell the Oilers, who finally got their first win of the season last night.
This is all your fault. This is
after
all
getting
your fault.
outscored
This is all your
17-3.
Yeah, this is all your
no
fault.
one cares,
This is
dude. They
all-
play 80 games. I don't care.
All your fault.
What
You
are
set
they,
'em
1-3?
up.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
No.
Are they going to recover? I don't know.
God.
The Mets are a dumpster fire. Remember that? Remember when that was
I
a
do
thing?
remember that, yeah.
They were terrible. Nobody was going to their games like a month into the season. And now look at them.
So
They're
did you guys?
three
did
wins
you guys
away.
take sports off last night after that? It was clear that the Guardians were going to put up no fight.
I took it off before the Guardians fought anything.
Okay.
I didn't watch a second of that game.
took the evening off last night.
I couldn't care less about that baseball series.
I had the game on, but I was not watching. I had it on. It was on my television, but you're cooking dinner, you're cleaning up, you look over like, hey, look at that. They scored another run. I did see the Judge home run later in the night, and then when that happened, I definitely turned it off.
This goes back to the mail sack question in which I completely just overlooked it. I could give up that sport in a heartbeat.
Yeah, in terms of if you're going to give one up.
I
know.
Why should I care about Yankees Guardians?
Well, baseball cares because they're going to get the Yankees in the World Series, it appears, 2 wins away. And the numbers for the Dodger-Mets game, game 1.
Yeah.
Now, game 2, I don't know if they've been reported, and I can't imagine that they were good because that was a 1 o'clock game on a Monday.
They haven't been put out, which tells me they
But
were
that's
not
4
great.
o'clock on the East
It is
Coast
4
with the
o'clock
New
on the East
York
Coast.
team.
That is true.
Where were they playing? On the
That
East
is
Coast?
true. No, they're playing in L.A.
Saying when it was on TV.
The numbers for game 1, though, were massive. So people, when you get these major markets in, you're
you
going to
also have
captivate
NFL
the audiences.
football leading into it on Fox.
I'd like you to show me the map of the massive numbers. I would
Two
be willing to
markets.
wager it largely came from 2 cities.
Yeah, I want to go. It was something like highest rated NLCS game they've had in, what was it? Almost 9 million viewers average for game 1 in the LCS. That is remarkable for baseball. I'm pretty sure that almost doubles up what the World Series got last year between the Rangers and Diamondbacks.
That would sum it up.
That's the power. That's this is like an electoral college thing. Should we all have a vote on if we're watching, or should it just be the populations? And the populations are watching because people live in LA and they live in New
Populations pay the
York.
bills.
Well, I'm going to tell you right
Populations pay
now,
the bills.
if it becomes a Subway Series, I'm out. I definitely won't care. You guys can talk about a World Series. I will literally just not be in the studio. I will take a segment off.
Okay.
If it's Dodgers-Yankees, I'm in.
You're in if it's Dodgers-Yankees?
Yeah, but we
Okay.
need to fast forward through this Guardian crap. They get this Cleveland team out of here.
Yeah, the American League was a big disappointment. There could have been a couple of like Baltimore being in there would have been fun and something that I would have been
Baltimore
invested
Yankees in an ALCS, I think, would
have been good.
Gotten some more attention.
in the local
'Cause
time.
Baltimore handled them in the regular season. They won
did.
the season series.
Well, and you would have Adley in the ALCS with a chance to go to the World Series, which would be cool. So that would definitely get me interested. There's just something about, you said this a couple of weeks ago, and I think there's some validity to it for me as a sports fan. their name decreases the interest in watching them for me.
It absolutely does.
Like-
It makes them sound like they're a movie team. Like it's not real.
This is not
the
Disney.
Guardians,
If they were the Spiders.
Spiders, yeah, it lessens it a little bit. I feel like they're playing a fake team. I feel like the Yankees are playing a fake Major League Baseball team.
Hot take. They should have just been the Cleveland Baseball Club.
Just the Cleveland baseball club's not bad.
The
Why
hockey club's undefeated.
Every other sport can do this. We can do this in soccer.
Yeah.
We did this in the NFL. We had the football team, which
We
they
did.
should still be the football team because it's better than the commies.
Yeah.
We have soccer clubs, hockey club. We got all of it, but we can't have the baseball club.
That's a good poll question. Does the name Guardians diminish you caring about them in the playoffs? I think it does.
It does for me. I'll put that up right now.
Like it, and look, I understand what happened there, but like if they were still the Indians,
my interest level would be higher.
it would be higher.
It would definitely be
You
higher.
can get rid of the logo.
Yeah.
You can do what you need to do to be good, but like if they were still the same name, I'd care a little more.
Yeah.
I grew up with them doing that.
You would have flashbacks to the late 90s,
Yes.
mid 90s when they would play in the playoffs and the Indians went to a World Series.
Omar Vizquel,
yes.
right there in my head.
I can witness it. I
Albert
can see
Bell.
It. Albert Bell.
Yeah.
God, those Cleveland teams were a lot of fun to watch. They had some studs back
They
in the
were
day.
good. The 97 year is probably the year they kicked themselves the most.
Yes.
They weren't beating the Bravos.
Edgar Renteria,
Oh,
walk-off home
right
run in
up
a
the
World
middle.
Series. Just brutal. Brutal run for them.
Yeah, what was their pitcher's name? Nagy?
Sounds right.
That's one of their pitchers.
Run with
One
it,
of their
sure.
stud arms that they had. Kenny Lofton.
Kenny Lofton. I loved me some Kenny
I
Lofton.
did too. When he became a Brave, I was so happy.
I'm going to put it up right now. Does their name being the Guardians, what is it, lessen your excitement to watch them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think that is an accurate statement. There's nobody's watching that playoff series. I'm sorry. I will not be convinced.
Yeah, I think the numbers.
Don't give me like, 4 million. Yeah, 4 million in New York.
Yeah, they're all in one city,
They're all
man.
in one little pocket.
Yeah, the numbers are going to be. This
Get
is like
outta here.
Rob Manfred is the he's the Farmer Fran just rubbing his nipples in his overalls behind the scenes. If he gets a New York World Series, the ratings will be good. If he
So-
gets a Yankees Dodgers World Series,
Yeah.
they will have the best ratings easily since. Ironically, when Cleveland was in there in 2016 and they lost to the Cubs, but that was just because of the power of the
So
Cubs.
I heard we've had David Sampson on. He used to be the president of the Florida Marlins.
Yes.
The Miami Marlins. And he now does media. He does his own show every day on CBS Sports Network. He's on the Levitard show on guest appearances. He was asked about this like 2 weeks ago, and I was a little surprised. He was basically asked, Major League Baseball is probably pretty jacked to either have the Dodger Yankees or the Subway Series.
yes.
And he goes, not at all. He goes, they do not want a Subway Series. And I was kind of taken aback by that.
What
And
was the logic behind it?
it's one city.
Yeah.
Nobody in America is going to care. They'll care. They'll do their little New York. Oh, New York, New York. Nobody will care. And I think he's kind of right. I didn't think that I agreed with it when he said it. And then he explained it's like they do not want to be stuck in one city, just a city going against itself. That's actually not good for them.
The travel would be. Are we still going to take days off in between the series if we're doing New York versus New York? We still got to take travel days.
He said
off.
that, and he was a part of the ownership meetings and stuff at this point. But he said in 2000 they hated the Subway Series.
I don't-
Internally, they hated it.
What were the number? I'm assuming the numbers were good because baseball was in a better spot in the late '90s, early 2000s.
I think that's the
Yeah,
numbers
coming
were
off
probably better.
McGuire, Sosa,
Right.
and Bonds was killing it. And
Piazza
Piazza,
still with the
Clemens.
Mets
and
at
that was
point.
their,
yeah.
yes, he would definitely because remember they
That
had
was the bat.
Yeah, him and Clemens were throwing stuff at each other.
Yeah.
And I want to say that was the third straight for the Yankees. Wasn't that their third in a row?
Yeah, because they won in 97. No.
They beat the
Yeah,
Padres
99, they beat my Bravos
Beat the Braves,
again,
and then that
they
was-
beat the Mets.
because they went to 4 in a row and then they lost
They
to the
lost to the
Diamondbacks
Diamondbacks.
after 01.
The only year I rooted for them.
So that was the one thing where they had at least you had the dynasty angle going with the Yankees, and baseball was just in a different spot. I mean, you know where I'm at. I'm kind of unplugged from baseball a little bit. I got it. It's on my TV. It's in my background, but it is not the postseason for me has not been appointment television, and that's how I view sporting events that I'm excited for. Of like, okay. Game starts at a certain time. I want to have everything finished or wrapped up or ready to go so I can sit down and watch the game. And these are more just like, oh, that's right, the game starts. I'm going to flip it on, and it's going to be on in my background. And if you give me Yankees and Mets, that's probably what the World Series will be. Like I'll be watching, I'll have it on my TV, but I'm not sitting on my couch watching every second.
Yeah, I only care about one of the series.
Yeah.
I don't. It's just Guardians. I tried it with Game 1 on Monday Night Football, and
The series hasn't been very good because the Guardians are not putting up very much of a fight.
I multi-viewed that game, and
did too.
I was blown away how little I actually paid attention to what one side of my TV screen was showing.
It is funny when you have the audio on one game and not the other that you end up not watching much of. Like I'll just kind of glance over, but you're not watching a ton of it.
If it's football, I can do it. I can get past the audio not being on and just keeping eye of what's going on. Guardians on the other side, it's like, sorry, I can't do it. So I was like, if I feel this way multi-viewing it, let's just be honest with myself. I don't care. And so yesterday I knew that game had started, and I'm like, well, I don't want to talk about
I'll give you the full Here's your full recap. Yankees
win.
They jumped out to an early lead. The Indians had the bases loaded. Guardians, my apologies, had the bases loaded with nobody out, and I think they only scored 1 or 2 runs in that moment.
Thank you. Yeah.
And then Judge hit a home run, and that was your ball game. Yankees win up 2-0.
How exciting.
Going back to Cleveland.
Oh, the Yankees haven't won enough.
No, they're going back to old Progressive Field where the mighty Cleveland fans lift them over
it's
the
top.
top.
It's at least a good atmosphere in Cleveland.
It is. Better than New York.
If they can win a game, they might be able to get me with their energy.
Win game 3, fans going crazy.
You want a hot take?
You're back in now.
I was rooting against Chicago in 2016.
I was too.
I wanted Cleveland to win, actually. I felt bad. I felt actually worse for Cleveland than I did Chicago.
I mean, 1950-something was their last World Series. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I didn't care about the gap, like what the difference was. I knew Cleveland hadn't won also in a long time.
And that was prior to the LeBron Finals, I believe, right?
No, it was the same year.
Oh, it was just,
2016.
Okay, but the NBA Finals had it already happened? I don't think. Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Are we sure about that?
Yeah, he won in 2016.
Oh, okay.
It was 2015.
I feel like that would have been a bigger thing that I would have remembered of like Cleveland still hasn't won, or
his
Cleveland
first year,
just won a championship.
Let's verify this.
Okay.
I think his first year was 14-15. They lost because they had nobody except Dellavedova. And then the next year was 15-16. And so remember, he was at the game. He was like flexing in the suite.
Yes. And even though he's a
Yankee fan.
Yeah, Yankee fan. Let's see. They won. No, so they won. They won. Yes, they won it in 16.
It would have been June 2016.
And then
the World Series was that following October, November.
Okay.
Or whatever the World Series is.
Okay,
now.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I was rooting for Cleveland in that game, and when they hit, what was it, the Grand Slam?
Yes.
I thought they were going to do it. I really did.
They sent it to extra innings with, I think, maybe a 3-run shot, or like R.J. Davis.
Yeah, there was R.J. Davis.
Hit a 3-run shot late in the game and sent it to extras, and then it started raining. I think there was a weather delay.
Yeah.
2016 World Series, so they both happened in 2016. I, too, was rooting for Cleveland because I want the Cubs to suck. That's the only reality I've ever known. They're the lovable losers, and them not being the lovable loser was something that I didn't want to adjust to.
You didn't want them to be the lovable winner?
They're not. It's not who they are. The Cubs in my life have been one thing and one thing only, and now my life's been turned upside down.
Oh, yeah. Well, they won it, and guess what? It sucked again.
I haven't won one since then.
They've been terrible.
I've not been back to one since then.
Are they going to be good next year? They didn't seem very good this year.
No, they spent $800 million on their manager, and then the manager's former team went to the playoffs, and they did not make the playoffs this year.
They took my guy Dansby.
They did. They got Dansby at shortstop.
Hey, we got Dansby.
Look at that, a full baseball breakdown right out of the gate.
To be honest with you, I'm kind of glad it happened now. I had none of it on my show sheet. And I know when you did, or if you did, I was prepared to just kind of sit it out and let Swag rant and rave about something that happened yesterday.
Talk about Judge hitting a bomb. He's back. He woke up. Uh-oh.
Hit one when it matters.
I mean, it is the ALCS.
Front runner.
Kind of matters.
Were they up when he hit it?
It kind of matters. They were up.
He's never hit one for a go-ahead.
4-2.
Aren't you hit one when your team's trailing, you loser?
4-2 was the score at the time.
I don't know why. He's become a new enemy, and I actually like him. I think he's great for the game.
I still hate Arson Judge for what he did to me 2 off seasons ago.
You hate him for that?
I hate him for that.
Who was that reported that? Heyman?
John Heyman. Arson Judge to the Giants.
Shouldn't you hate Heyman for
I hate them both. I hate them all. My team sucks. Give me something good to root for. By the way, early returns, yes. That it lessens your excitement to watch them in the playoffs.
And Spiders doesn't necessarily roll off the tongue.
No.
But at least there was a history, and at least the logo was cool.
Yeah.
And
the uniforms and the logo would be cooler than the Guardians.
I still think I'm going to stick with Cleveland Baseball Club.
Let's go with it. I'm okay with that.
It would not have looked right, I think, in that league, but I would have liked it a hell of a lot more than the Guardians.
CBC across the hat, the Cleveland Baseball Club.
Did you happen to listen to the baseball show last night? Is he indeed back on the Cleveland train? Is he acting like he's some diehard Cleveland fan again?
I did not listen to the baseball show.
Because I text him about this a while back. He never responded, which is very unlike him.
He's very sensitive about this, I think.
Is he?
I think he's a little ashamed about the decision-making he's had in terms of fandom.
It's a weird decision to, abandon and then come back.
Yeah.
So you abandon 2 teams in a span of 3 years is an odd choice.
It's like your buddy who has a crazy, chaotic girlfriend. You all know it's not going to last, and then they break up, and you're like, "Good job, dude. I'm proud of you." And then they get back together, and you're like, "I know how this is not real.
You were in my kitchen yelling about how awful she was. I'm here. I know what happened.
They ruined your life, and now you're back just like that. I can't take you seriously."
He also told me to fade as much as I financially could on the under of the Yankees this year of 90.
Did not happen.
That would have lost.
That did not happen.
That would have lost.
No, it did not.
So, hey, we all have moments.
We all have our down spots.
We all have our down
5:08 first pitch today, Dodgers Mets.
Hey, there we go. Respectable first pitch.
The atmosphere at Citi Field should be good.
Not Fox?
No.
No, I think they have the Masked Singer tonight. You're not preempting the Masked
right.
Singer for baseball.
Priorities, dude. What are we doing here? Come on. Masked Singer can't be top. Robin Thicke's on that show. Get the hell out of here.
Who they having on?
I don't know.
It's a surprise. You got to watch. It could be. Putin comes out at the
They
end.
love to do stuff like
I
that.
am a real American. Is that Vladimir Putin? What is happening right now? I'm so confused.
That
man.
would be the funniest episode and also the worst episode of all time.
Everybody just stands up.
Vladimir
gives him a-
Putin
Wow, that was
singing,
great,
"I am
Vladdy.
a
That
real
was great, man. Didn't see that coming at all. It's a total curveball, man. Remember they had Rudy Giuliani on it? He had his makeup melting down his
Yeah,
face.
that's the big curiosity that I have with the Blazers on KATU. It's like, okay, how many games are going to be on there? Are they actually going to bump Dancing with the Stars?
I'm
for a
actually going to
Blazer
get to that, so don't ruin anything. I
Okay.
was going to get to that today. Do you know what today is? Do you know what today is?
Today is October 16th.
Yeah.
That it is.
You know another reason I'm asking this question?
We are a week away.
We are exactly 7 days
Next
away.
week.
And I think I might be going to the first game.
Is it a home opener?
It's home
you
opener.
wearing your
Home
Curry
opener.
jersey like
Dubs.
everybody else.
You're going to go support the
There's going to be
Warriors.
so much blue and gold in that
Oh,
crowd.
God. That'll be, that's a Niner Seahawk crowd right there.
How many
That's a
Curry Olympic uniforms do I see?
50-50. Dude, I was watching the Ducks came out with their cinematic recap last night. There was a guy in the stands. These people need to be called out. This cannot be allowed. There was a Duck fan in the crowd wearing an orange Bo Nix jersey. Broncos.
What?
Yes.
Ugh.
What are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Who thinks that's a good? You're clearly a Duck fan.
I'm going to laugh when that person texts in, guys, that was me.
Explain yourself. I need answers. You're clearly a Duck fan.
Of all the uniforms.
You're wearing a Bo Nix Bronco jersey, so you're there supporting the team, and that's the one that you pick. What are we doing?
He just bought it.
The color scheme
It
doesn't
ain't
match.
cheap.
It's one thing if you wear if there was a yellow Herbert Charger jersey that you could wear,
Sure.
at least slightly blend into the crowd. Orange,
Even the white one.
even the white one, there's some blue on it. Doesn't quite fit, but it makes a little more sense. It's still inexcusable. But I saw that they were doing the scan of the crowd, and there was an orange Bo Nix jersey, and what's going on in your head, man?
Well, you took us way over the clock. This is all your fault
My
today.
apologies. It was
late
that we
start.
had baseball fever. This is why we're going
is that
long.
what that was?
And
Was
hockey
baseball
fever, man. The
Yeah.
Edmonton Oilers got to win last night. Let's go, dude. Happy Wednesday.
Let's do that hockey.
Let's do that hockey.
All right, we got a loaded show. Josh Pate at 7:40. Dirt and Sprague. Let's get it going on the Fan.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Debating if I put a poll question up. Would you be surprised by the Masked Singer if they had Vladimir Putin on singing I Am a Real American?
They always keep you on your toes, that Masked Singer. You never know what's coming.
I've never watched an episode.
Neither have I, and I never will.
No, I won't either.
I have no desire to watch shows like that.
Celebrities trying to guess other celebrities.
Oh, my God!
Singing songs in ridiculous costumes.
Ken Jeong, Jenny McCarthy not doing it for you?
Is that who the judges are?
Yeah.
Well, are they judges or are they just guessers? I don't know how that game works.
I don't know exactly how it works.
Because you do the voice, right? You're a voice guy?
I'm the voice.
Yeah, you do the voice.
I've dabbled in the voice. The voice isn't a bad show.
I love seeing genuine talent being discovered and getting opportunities.
I'm with you there. There is something to that. The American Idol thing, I don't know why, but it ran its course for me. The Voice is just a different vibe.
They're still going.
Well, the
It's
Voice
nuts.
Scouts, like they're not bringing just some random person off the street. These are like people that have been gigging. I mean, they do have some teenagers that are, but
people playing club scenes
Yeah.
locally.
Yeah.
Wedding
and-
singers,
yeah.
kind of that stuff.
Wedding
Exactly.
singers, yeah. I also love the chair spin.
chair spin's
The
good.
blind.
Oh,
Because
that's
I like it. I think it's good. You get rid of, like, you're judging by appearance, right? You're just hearing the voice.
Yeah, so you're just listening to the voice,
Yeah.
and then you hear something that stirs you and you turn around.
Now, that being said, I do constantly put myself in the if I was a good singer. Because I've always had somebody say, like, if you could do anything and be great, what would it be?
Yeah.
And I've always said singing. To have an ability to be on stage, have the ladies swoon, all the men to be jealous. Like, Usher's residency in Vegas is the dream, right?
Yeah.
To be on The Voice, say you're a good singer, I always play the game, which judge would sway me? Would I go Snoop? I grew up listening to Snoop.
But don't they change it every year? Like, who is it right now?
Right now, it's Reba, Snoop,
Gwen Stefani is
Gwen
back.
Stefani, and
Michael
Schultz's guy,
Bublé.
Bublé.
Michael Bublé.
Yeah.
Oh, that's tough.
But I used to watch the Reba McEntire show when
You're
it was on television. I'm a big
yeah,
Reba fan.
Big Reba guy.
But Gwen Stefani, my God. I get to work one-on-one with Gwen Stefani. Where's Blake? He's not around.
Blake's out on tour right now, huh, Gwen?
And Bublé seems like a good time. He doesn't seem like a bummer. He's taking mushrooms. He's teaching me how to sing.
Yeah, he seems like a good dude.
Yeah, so like of the four judges, I'm always like if I'm watching any of those shows, I'm playing the game of who am I being convinced by.
Well, now you're trying to like turn this into a career, right? So I would imagine
Well, yeah, one, you're trying to win the show.
win the
and
show
yes, two,
and then turning
turn
it into a
a
career. So I would want somebody that would be most in line with the kind of singer that I am. That would kind of eliminate Snoop for me. Like Snoop would be a lot of fun.
But Snoop could give you the cachet and swagger.
He would give you that.
So I've thought about that too. Does the genre line up, or do you go
Like, am I a country singer? Then I'm going to go.
You
I'm
want to go
going
Shelton,
Reba.
or I guess Reba in this.
Blake
yeah.
Shelton in the past. If I'm a crooner, I'm going Bublé.
Okay.
If I'm more of a pop kind of rock singer, then you go Gwen Stefani.
You don't think there's a yin and a yang to this?
It could be. Kind of getting an outside perspective on your voice. It could be.
It'd be weird to be an R&B singer and you go to Reba McEntire.
What's up, Reba? Who doesn't love Reba McEntire?
She's delightful.
She's a wonderful person.
She's like a younger Dolly Parton to me.
Absolutely. She's the next generation's Dolly Parton.
She absolutely.
Even though she's incredibly old too, but Dolly Parton's really, really
is
old.
Reba incredibly old?
I think she's up there.
How old is incredibly old to you? Because you need to be
you
careful.
better be
here.
careful with this.
I'm gonna go ahead and stop talking right now.
I feel like he was going to go into the 60s, and I'm like, I don't know about.
How old do you think Reba McEntire is?
I think she's 65.
65.
That's my guess.
Mid-60s.
And she looks great.
She is about to turn 70.
Wow.
Good for her.
A lot of good work.
That's pretty old.
I mean, yeah. Good for any white person that looks that good at almost 70. We don't usually have that.
A lot of lotion.
That doesn't go well for
A lot of
us.
lotion, a lot of Botox, man. Usually after 50, it's all downhill.
I've been using a ton of lotion the last 5 years.
I lotion my face every day.
I do it twice a day.
Yeah.
I wash my face in the morning. I lotion my arms and my face up.
You gotta
my feet after I shower.
gotta
It's
stay
great,
fresh, man.
You do. You got to try to get as many wrinkles as possible.
You're gonna protect your skin.
I don't really watch any of those TV shows anymore.
That's the only
Reality
one I
television.
watch.
I'm out on it.
It's amazing. Like, imagine saying 25 years ago that Survivor and American Idol are still going to be going.
What channel is American Idol on now?
ABC.
ABC, I'm assuming. I don't think it's ever left ABC.
Seacrest still hosting that thing?
I think so.
Jeez.
Probably. I know.
I don't know if he'll still do it now that he's hosting Wheel of Fortune.
Let's get this take off now. Ryan Seacrest is in the Radio Hall of Fame. And I know I never will be, but that one actually upsets me because all he does is like the top 100, the Casey Kasem,
He took over.
weekend thing.
Your number one hit of the week is
The most overrated person in entertainment is Ryan Seacrest.
Talk about an easy job. That is an easy job.
I telling you 100% confidently, Swag could do that job.
Without a doubt.
Give Swag a coat, put him in front of the camera.
Get his velvet jacket on that he used to wear to the draft party.
Make sure his beard and his hair are done well, because sometimes he doesn't make those choices very well.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have hair. If you're on TV, there's hair and makeup.
Yeah, somebody's doing you up. You're going to look good.
I think Swag could do that job.
He definitely could. I think we could all do that job.
Yeah.
I could do that job.
It's not a job I think I'd want.
You got to teach me the pronunciations of all the bands and the artists that I don't know right now, because there's a lot of them that I probably don't know in the top 20. You teach me that, I could do that job.
You know what a real hard job is?
What is it?
New Year's Rockin' Eve with Anderson Cooper. That's not an easy job.
Not an easy
You got to get trashed on live television.
You got to get drunk on live TV.
Keep it together.
Try and not do something that's going to get you fired while hammered on national television.
Try not to have sex with Andy Cohen live on television.
What if that happened one year on New Year's Eve?
Started
Just
making
rip their clothes off. Like, what do we do? Oh, whoa, whoa.
Anderson Andy,
whoa.
calm down here.
Whoa, fade to black.
We
fade
got
to
two
black.
Andys going.
That's why they do it in New York, because it's so damn cold.
Yeah,
keep
it
your
keeps
clothes
the
on
temperature
there.
down a little bit.
Yeah.
I like
Don't
that.
send them down in New Orleans or the Bahamas. Something
No.
bad's going to happen.
All right. Well, I don't know what that was, but this is the voice.
We're here.
We are here.
We're here.
It's a Wednesday.
What do you want?
Yeah.
You know.
Did you want a Purdue preview in that segment?
Oh, I got a Purdue preview for you. Don't you worry, buddy. Antennas up. Trap alert.
We'll get to the duck porn that came out yesterday because my friend told me he was going to watch that at home with his Donald Duck outfit, which is his way of saying just a T-shirt.
Just
no
a T-shirt
pants.
on. Yeah. See if it dances.
Oh, it's not dancing, dude. It's standing tall.
I was waiting all day for that thing to come out.
Everybody
man.
was.
I was waiting all
I
day.
feel like every Duck fan secretly had some
All
lotion
day.
somewhere close to them waiting for that video to be released.
That was like I watched it like a movie. I turned the lights out, got a little popcorn. Let's go. It was 18 minutes long. It was a little mini movie.
I think everybody was waiting to see Dan Lanning take his shirt off.
Wife beater guy.
Yeah, we kind of knew that though, didn't we?
I think probably, but it's just I was never a wife beater guy.
Oh, I was for a
Were
long
you?
time, yeah.
The wife beater never made sense to me.
I got rid of it, I'd say like 7 years ago. I stopped wearing them, maybe 8 years ago, because I just kind of started feeling uncomfortable with it.
And that's what always I
'Cause
never liked
sticks.
it.
It sticks to your shirt.
Yeah, and then you can kind of see it bunched up on your shoulders a little bit,
Little
like when
bit.
it kind of clumps up together.
Yeah.
I would never did the wife beater.
Also, I think they're calling it a tank top now. I think they've gotten away from the label wife beater. For obvious reasons.
I mean, probably time to upgrade that name. That would make sense a little bit.
You think Lanning still calls it a wife beater?
Hey, where's my wife beater at? I need my game day wife beater.
All right. Well, we got a lot more to get into. We got NFL Zigger Zag at 6:45. It is exactly 7 days. Dirt with an interesting reporting observation from Eugene this week. And we'll get to that next on The Fan.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Devontae Adams trade to the Jets set off a series of transactions Tuesday in the NFL. It included the Buffalo Bills acquiring receiver Amari Cooper and a 6th-round pick this year from the Browns for a 3rd-round pick this year and a 6th-round pick in 2026. Vikings sent a couple of conditional late-round picks in 2026 to the Texans for running back Cam Akers. And the Lions agreed to a 4-year contract extension with defensive tackle Aleem McNeil worth $97 million. $55 million of that is guaranteed. Aaron Judge finally got the bat going. 3 RBI, including a 2-run home run late to put away Game 2 of the ALCS 6-2. Yankees beat the Guardians. They're up 2-0 going back to Cleveland for Games 3 and 4 on Thursday and Friday. Today, the Dodgers hand the ball to Walker Buehler. Game 3 of the NLCS, hoping to get a quality start in Queens against the Mets. With that series all tied up at a game each, New York countering with Luis Severino on the mound. 5:08 first pitch on 910 ESPN Portland. Pre-game coverage at 4:30. Blazers continue the preseason tonight at Moda Center. They host the German club team Ulm for a 7 o'clock tip. Reports are coming out Anthony Simons could make his preseason debut. He's missed the first 2 road games with knee soreness. More sports scores and stories. 30 minutes. Jason Swangard from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan is live on YouTube and Twitch. And now, Window Nation brings you on-demand This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
We'll get to NFL Zig-or-Zag coming up. Josh Pate at 7:40. Can this change for this local sports team? We'll get to that at the top of the hour.
Juicy little tease.
We teased the duck porn that came out last night. Also, we called it. We told you yesterday morning. I couldn't believe he admitted it publicly, and by doing that,
Yeah.
he has now created the Dan Lanning rule.
The Dan Lanning rules.
They already changed it?
I don't know if it's
They're
been officially
about to.
approved, but they're going to.
They're about to.
It will be changed.
Are you aware that your Portland Trailblazers play tonight?
I am not aware of that.
They play ULM.
Louisiana Monroe?
No.
In
It's
town?
a German club
German
team.
team.
What? Oh, a German. Oh,
Remember
okay.
they had the Israeli team? They played them a couple
I
years
remember that.
ago.
I
They're
remember
doing that with a German team too.
Yeah.
Okay, can I watch the game tonight?
I actually don't know the
I
answer.
don't know
to
the
that
answer to
question.
that
Okay.
either.
I mean, if it was
Maybe.
on TV, I might flip over. I mean,
Blazer Vision, maybe if you have Blazer
I do
Vision.
not. I know it's a shocking update. I did not spend $100 to get Blazer Vision for this year.
Well, exactly a week from today, because nobody cares about this game.
Nope.
They will tip off their regular season against the Golden State Warriors.
That's wild. I saw they had a tweet yesterday. It was they were Denny days away because he's number 8, and that's when it dawned on me of like, holy crap, the NBA season begins next week.
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday
We
night.
got a doubleheader Tuesday,
God.
and then Wednesday everybody else gets it going.
Absolutely wild. It's almost here.
It's interesting to me because Scoot, his first game against the Clippers, for those that didn't watch, which is probably a lot of you, did not have a good game. Actually had a horrific game. And then played better-ish against the Kings. But if you just went and looked at box score stuff, I don't think you'd be particularly impressed.
Not good.
He cut the turnovers down by 6.
Yeah. That's a lot of turnovers for preseason game.
He
Number
had
one.
7 in the first one.
Turnovers in game one's not
That's a
good.
lot.
It's a little concerning.
This is, how you had your judge thing of like, do it when it matters. There's nothing that
I
he
know.
does in there. Even
I know.
you could tell me that he went 17 of 17 from the field, made 7 3-pointers,
agree
scored
with you.
842 points in a game, broke the all-time preseason record. And I tell you, it does. Who's playing on the other team? Who's in? Who's out? Because they played the Clippers in game 1, right?
yes.
I'm
Yes.
imagining that nobody played for the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard ain't playing no preseason
Actually,
games.
No,
Well, I think Paul
James
George
Harden
did.
played.
Paul George is no longer with the Clippers.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he's on the Sixers.
He's with the Sixers. Who did James Harden
Who
play?
got hurt, by
Harden
the
played.
way.
He
Harden
did
played.
already get hurt. I
Got
saw
hurt.
that.
Harden, Batum. They
Okay.
didn't play the whole game, but
Had
they
a couple
played their
guys.
guys.
Okay,
Yeah.
a few minutes here or there.
Yeah.
I
They're,
just-
they're not going to be a good team either. the
Good,
Clippers.
good or bad, there's nothing that Scoot's going to do in the preseason. Next Wednesday night it starts, and we'll all be on Scoot Watch of how does year 2 look.
Well, I am curious to see how it's going to go. I know not everybody's really excited about this team, and I understand why. But you were down in Eugene, and so was every other media member in America. And you came back and told me something very random and interesting based on a conversation you had with a media member.
Yeah, I was talking to some TV folks down there, and I was just curious about how that all went, and getting the Blazers back on local TV. It's a pretty big deal that a lot of fans are genuinely excited for. But one of the lingering questions that I've had is how many games are they going to play on K2? And how many games are they going to play on? What's the other channel called? You guys remember what it is? Off the top of your head?
Matlock.
Matlock channel.
Charge.
Charge.
Chips,
Thank you.
yeah.
That's what it was.
Charge.
So I do know that I have the Charge channel
Yes.
on YouTube TV, and you can get it, I think, with HD rabbit ears.
You can do that. Yeah, it's
The-
it's like channel 2.2 or
Something like that. And some of the providers don't have it. though.
Comcast has it. It's channel 302.
Yes. Fubo, I don't think, has it, so it's not on every provider, but most of them have it. But I do think that's going to affect the way we view and the easiness of finding a channel. And if it's not just on channel 2 when I turn my guide on, will you be able to go find it and search for it and all that? And I was basically told this weekend that none of their games will be on K2.
So
They're not going to. I mean,
they're not going to have any.
to the point of what we were just talking about. They're not putting an
Dancing with the Stars.
No, there's an NLCS game tonight on FS1 because Fox is not going to bump Vladimir Putin singing "I Am a Real American." That's that's a ratings bonanza for them, dude. They're not bumping that. And
Pretty soon, you're going to actually have people believing that Vladimir
What?
Putin is in America
Dude, they
singing "I Am a Real American."
send me a check when they're Portland.
trending by the end of the
You know how much Fox would pay to make that happen?
Oh my
though?
God, they would pay $100 million to make that happen. This would not be good. Like I went into the year assuming it was going to be kind of similar. Remember back when they used to be KGW,
And
but
they
it
have
was
like X amount of games.
Yeah,
15,
well, KGW
10
has
maybe.
the Kraken, and I think 15 of the Kraken's games will
Right.
actually be on KGW.
on Channel 8.
And then the other 50 or 60 of them are on their the similar channel.
And this person told you they think
They don't
it's
think. Yeah, so
zero?
don't take this as gospel. It's not
Yeah.
it's not a known
You're
fact.
not reporting
I'm not.
it.
This is not a
You're sharing.
sources. I just was asked like, hey, how many other games will be on K2? I'm just curious, and he was like, I don't think any of them are going to be on K2. That's just what he's hearing from the scuttlebutt in the TV world right
Well,
now.
I was doing a they, and you went to the he, so there you go.
Well, there's so that's what happened, and so I think that would be a pretty big disappointment. I have the channel on YouTube TV, so I'll still be able to find them and watch them. But I imagine some Blazer fans will be a little frustrated by that.
I'm just kind of curious to see because like last year they lost 60% of their audience for obvious reasons.
They did.
And I'm not saying they won't gain it back. The access is clearly going to help. But I am interested from, start of year to end of year, how much that really goes up. If this team is as bad as we think they will be and try to be, which will require trading some of these vets, by the way.
Yes, it will.
I'm not really, and Scoot struggles. I'm just not overly convinced a ton of people are going to really find it interesting.
Well, like next week is a good example of a game. Opening night, that's the kind of game that you should fight for in your negotiation to be on Channel 2.
See, that's kind of what I thought.
First
too.
game of the year, you're playing the Warriors. It's like Steph Curry. Like, all right, that I'm not asking you for on Friday the 25th to have your home game against New Orleans on K2 if you don't want to. That's
fine. A CJ McCollum returns game.
That is the CJ return game. But like some of the bigger ones throughout the year should try to be on K2, and maybe that still will end up happening. I think to answer your question on watching, so much of it will depend on, to your point, how Scoot looks, and is there something that's optimistic to get me to watch him and be excited to watch him? How does Klingon play, and what kind of impact can he have right away? It's not going to be a ton of minutes, but does he show you flashes of being the guy that, hey, maybe this is a cornerstone piece that you could have for a long time? And then the other part is Shaden Sharp. I heard Danny the other day say he doesn't think he's going to be back until Thanksgiving. Which
I'm going to stretch that into December.
Maybe even
then.
stretch it into December.
Yeah.
And so, that if he comes back, is he's going to stay healthy? Like, what are you selling me on as a fan? I know you're going to lose games. I know this is going to be one of the worst years in the history of the franchise.
But you're supposed to be building, so
you're
supposed to sell me on the build, right?
And you're supposed to sell me on the young stars, and that's what I need to see as a fan in order to, outside of the first month and a half of the year, what's going to keep me around in January, February, and March, and those are the three things that I'm looking for.
I'm a sicko. I'm going to watch it all.
Yeah.
I'm more thinking about you, because I think you are more representative of this city as a sports fan. I know Blazer Twitter's loud. I know there are some Blazer maniacs out there, but I know there's a ton of yous as well. And I think you bear that out with what last year's numbers were and how it goes this year is interesting. We're exactly a week away. Let's get to NFL Zig or Zag next on The Fan.
cost? What would be the
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. 6:49. Can this be turned around this quickly? And the Big Ten in college football reacting to the Dan Lanning 12-man penalty.
Rule changes upon us.
Also, Oregon releasing duck porn yesterday.
Somebody texting into the Vancouver Ford text line said Dirt would easily play double the cost of Blazer Vision for the team out west Ducks porn if they charge for it. And you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
You get the X-rated version.
I get the X-ray, yeah. Shirtless Dan Lanning. Do I get that? Full look at the tattoo from Maria Taylor. Help me out here, man.
Let's get to NFL Zig or Zag. We do it every Wednesday at 6:45. Don't forget the Dirty Poll is tomorrow. So we'll get our top 10 or top 12 in college football.
It's already cooked up and ready to go.
Let's start Week 7 NFL Power Ranking. You guys get jacked?
We should. I maintain that we should have polls in the NFL. I want an AP poll.
You're
Kansas
firing
City.
your gut?
What is the Chiefs versus Niners ranking matchup this weekend? Number 1 versus number 7?
Let's start with the Athletic. I want you to write these down if you need to.
Oh, God.
Okay? These are top 5s from 2 publications.
Top 5s, okay.
The first one is from the Athletic. This is their top 5 in order 1 to 5. Number 1, the Vikings. Number 2, the Ravens.
What?
Number 3, the Lions.
What?
Number 4, the Chiefs.
What are we doing?
And number 5, the Texans. Now, ESPN's top 5 in the same order. Number 1, the Chiefs. Number 2, the Vikings. Number 3, the Lions. Number 4, the Texans. And number 5, the Ravens. I want you to zig and zag with the list that is most right to you.
This is incredibly easy. I'm going to zig with the ESPN list.
And you're going to zag off the Athletic?
Whoever put that Athletic list out,
Wow.
I'm questioning your credentials. I don't know if you should be allowed to cover the NFL anymore.
Wow.
Look,
Who's the better team, the Vikings or the Ravens?
I mean, you're splitting hairs at that point.
Who would you pick? Neutral site.
I would take the Ravens.
Okay, so the Athletic has number 2, right?
They do. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the number 1 team. And not having Kansas City number 1 is just stupid. Like, it's just stupid.
Okay.
Stop. What are we doing? I know it's fun. I don't want them to win another Super Bowl either. Let's get clicks. Look at that. They're number 4 in my power rank. They're undefeated. Oh, they've barely won their games. They're undefeated. They're the Chiefs. They've won back-to-back Super Bowls. They have the best quarterback of all time and one of the best head coaches of all time. Like, can we just stop with the Kansas City stuff? I would love nothing more than to see them lose in the wild card round of the playoffs and I have to deal with Taylor Swift on my TV for 2 months through the NFL playoffs.
Well, she's in the MLB playoffs now.
But they are the number 1 team in the NFL.
She ain't
Until they
bad.
lose a game, they've won back-to-back Super Bowls. They are the number 1 team in the NFL.
To the Amari Cooper trade, where Pete Prisco had this to say on CBS Sports.
Oh, they got a lot better. Look, when he's at his best, he's a top-tier wide receiver. They did not have that. They had hoped Keon Coleman maybe had emerged better and quicker than he had, and it hadn't happened yet. Shakir had been in and out of the lineup. He was hurt. And again, Kincaid was supposed to be the number 1 weapon, and it hasn't quite worked out that way. So I think they looked at it from the big picture standpoint, and they said, you know what? We need help here.
So Prisco says huge. Zig or Zag, Amari Cooper traded to the Buffalo Bills, makes Buffalo the favorite to dethrone Kansas City in the AFC.
I will zag on that. I want to zig so bad because I want Buffalo to win and I want Josh Allen to win and I love that story. I'm going to zag on that, though. I still think that's Baltimore. I think they're the more complete team, the way they're running the football late, and I know Baltimore has a head-scratching loss early in the season with the way they blew the lead to the Raiders, but they were also an inch away from beating Kansas City on opening night, and I just think they're more balanced. I do love this trade, though, for Buffalo. We all wondered at what point would they make a move. Maybe it was going to be draft night. They didn't do it then. They didn't do it in the offseason. Amari Cooper, I don't even know if we can put into words going from Deshaun Watson to Josh Allen. There was a golf writer that had a tweet yesterday that said getting traded from Deshaun Watson to Josh Allen, and he had the graphic of the PGA Tour schedule. And you know what event is right before the Masters? It's the Valero Texas Open. It said that's Deshaun Watson, and now you're going to the Masters, and that's Josh Allen. So I love this move for Buffalo, but I still have to take Baltimore as the main threat to dethrone KC.
Let's clap it up for the NFC North. Every team in the NFC North has at least 4 wins. Zig or Zag, you believe the whole division could make the playoffs. Now, right now in the division, very quickly, Minnesota's 1-0 and Green Bay's 0-1. Those are the only divisional games.
Played
That's
each other
one
much.
divisional game. We have not had divisional games, but if you play the split ski, They split. Do you believe the whole division could make the playoffs?
How many wild card spots do we get? Three?
Three. So you get a division winner
I
and
zag
you
on
get
that.
three.
I zag on that. And not to take away from anything those four teams have accomplished, but the division itself, I mean, you're just going to beat each other up eventually. I don't see one team dominating all those matchups. Minnesota won a game against
What if
Green
they all
Bay.
split? What if it's a 1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1?
They very well could 1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1 the entire thing. Seattle has made an upgrade to their defensive line. I'm not super high on the Seahawks, but they're still technically in the mix. And I think you got two teams in the NFC South that are going to have something to say about this. The NFC East is a joke. The only team I'm taking seriously, honestly, at this point is the Commanders, which I never thought I would say in August, but here we are. I don't buy the Eagles. I think the Cowboys are a dumpster fire and the Giants suck. But to get all four teams in, have all three wild card spots go to one division, I zag on that. Would be a fun story, but I zag on it.
All right, Dan Orlovsky had this to say on ESPN yesterday.
The most fascinating thing for me right now in the AFC playoff picture is I think 2 and 4 teams get in. I believe the Jets and the Bengals will get in.
Looking at that, the Cardinals are 2 and 4. The Saints are 2 and 4. The Giants are 2 and 4. The Raiders are 2 and 4. He mentioned the Jets 2 and 4 and the Bengals are 2 and 4. Zig or Zag Dirt, 2 and 4 teams currently will make the playoffs.
Zag on that. There's only one team that I would even consider, and we talked about them yesterday, and that was Cincinnati. And I don't blame people for still not buying them. I killed them off 2 weeks ago. The Jets, get out of here, dude. You got a 47-year-old quarterback who looks like a shell of himself, and you're trying to slap a Band-Aid of a 31-year-old wide receiver on it. Devontae Adams is good, and he's going to help their offense slightly, but it's just a dysfunctional organization, and they're not catching Buffalo, so maybe you contend for a wild card spot, but I'm not going to pick it. Cincinnati's the only team. The other 2 and 4 teams, the Raiders, get the hell out of here. The Giants, get the hell out of here. They're done. The Saints, the way they're playing, how long is Derek Carr going to be out? They gave up 50 points this weekend at home. And the Cardinals, I'm picking the Cardinals to go to the playoffs. Not happening. I zag on that.
Final one, Tom Brady officially a part owner of the Raiders yesterday. Can't do anything for his broadcasting job with this new title.
No.
Zig or Zag, he will pick the team's new franchise quarterback in the draft, and he will turn the Raiders around. I do not believe this is a Magic Johnson ownership. I believe this guy is going to have a ton of say, even if his percentage as an owner
He definitely
is
will.
tiny.
He definitely will.
So Zig or Zag, he will have a say in the franchise quarterback.
Oh, Zag all
and
day.
he will turn this franchise around.
Zig on that, but I will zag on the he's going to have a say. Mark Davis is too busy at P.F. Chang's and getting his Dumb and Dumber haircut, and he's running a dumpster fire, so he's definitely going to have a say. They're the Raiders. No, he's not going to turn them around.
Okay. Him and Seymour are now partial
God,
owners.
I'm shaking in my boots
The
over here.
Patriots out west.
I'm shaking in my boots. You're going to catch Mahomes. It's going to happen.
And Harbaugh. All right, there we go. NFL Zig or Zag every Wednesday at 6:45. Can you turn something that was so awful around in just 7 days? And the NCAA's reaction to Dan Lanning's 12-man penalty. Josh Pate at 7:40. Loaded second hour. Dirt and Sprague on the Fan.
Is live on the Odyssey app is KFXX KWJJ HD2 Portland 1080 The Fan.
You got to pay them early, and you got to pay them a lot.
An Odyssey sports station. Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, that early Davante Adams trade to the Jets on Tuesday was just the first of several moves. It included the Buffalo Bills bringing in receiver Amari Cooper from the Browns for a 6th-round pick and for a 3rd-round pick this year and a 6th-round pick in 2026. Vikings sent a conditional late-round picks in 2026 to the Texans for running back Cam Akers. Lions agreed to a 4-year contract extension with defensive tackle Aleem McNeil. That's worth $97 million, $55 million of which is guaranteed. Yankees up 2-0 in the ALCS with a 6-2 win over the Guardians. Aaron Judge finally got his bat going. A 2-run home run late put it away, 3 RBI all told. They will head to Cleveland for games 3 and 4 on Thursday and Friday. Today in Queens, Dodgers and Mets tied at a game apiece. Game 3 of the NLCS. Walker Buehler opposite Luis Severino on the mound. 5:08 first pitch. You'll hear it on 910 ESPN Portland. Pre-game coverage will start at 4:30. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Your favorite fan shows are on YouTube. Mash the subscribe button and like us for live streaming video and 1080 The Fan on demand.
LeBron James, sexiest man alive, and virgins making news.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
The worst day to be horny is Sunday. The best day is a Friday and Saturday night.
Andy Dirt Johnson.
You want to close. Close. As in C-L-O-S-E. Not C-L-O-T-H-E-S.
And Brandon Sprague.
I love me a Spanish-speaking woman. I really, really, really do. I love it. Now, that ain't all you got to have. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to have it, but I mean, it is a plus. A bilingual woman, specifically Spanish, whispering in your ear, it's a beautiful thing.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
The expectation is that you're going to be ready to step up and handle your business. That's her expectation, whether she tells you or not. Am I right, Solange? Amen. Amen.
The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. A sexy Stephen A. welcoming you in on a hump day.
Canada loves me when I come.
I thought we took that open out of the rotation.
No, it's still there. Back by popular demand. The listeners want Stephen A. opens.
I feel like it splits people. There's either like, this is very weird and uncomfortable, and then there's the people it's like, I can't believe a sports pundit's doing this on a podcast.
We're good. We just ain't real good.
Yeah, that about sums it up for us.
That's where we're at, man.
Happy Wednesday. If you missed the first hour, we debated how much people are going to watch the Blazers this year, a week away from the opening tip.
We did.
We talked about which judge would you choose on The Voice, Reba, Snoop, Gwen, or Bublé.
That was a segment.
We debated if Cleveland's team name makes them less watchable.
Yeah, I'll give you the update on that. Let's see where the results are real quick.
We did have somebody respond that this is silly. This is a big part of their city history. And then I know the origins of it. I just think like you could have come up with a better name.
To that listener, 68% of our audience so far is saying yes, it lessens your excitement to watch them in the playoffs.
What was the Keanu Reeves scab movie? Football?
The Replacements.
What was the team name?
Sentinels.
The Sentinels.
It's the same vibe. It's like
Washington Sentinels.
Yeah. It's the same kind of vibe.
See what Commanders gives off too. It just sounds like a movie Hollywood team name.
It does. And we did NFL Zig or Zag. We got Josh Pate at 7:40, so we have a lot to get to before we talk with Josh Pate. I want to start the second hour. Do you believe a very, very, very bad defense can be turned around in 7 days?
In 7 days.
As a football guy. Jared
football
Jones
guy.
said those guys on the radio don't know football.
Yeah.
Do you, as a football fan, but not a football knower, evidently.
No, I don't know. I know nothing about football.
Do you believe a very, very very bad defense can be turned around in 7 days.
By the way, on that note, I would like to mention, remember my comments about throwing the ball down the field and offensive coordinator dirt, what Oregon do on Saturday? What helped win them the game?
What did
Taking
we
shots
find
down
out?
the field?
Okay, first of all, I love that you've already made this about Oregon again.
Sorry, my apologies.
Second of all, that was one of my big takeaways
for
to
the
spoil.
next 2 months, so.
It was the video they sent out yesterday.
We got to take our shots. We got to take our shots.
That's all I kept thinking about.
I'm the
was
guy
our
in the
shot.
last dance doing the shrug right now. I don't know anything about football. Take your shots, man. And they got a PI on one that should have held, but they called a stupid illegal man downfield penalty. A terrible defense turning it around in 7 days.
Do you believe it can happen?
I don't.
Only if they get all their dudes back.
Yeah,
and
I guess
they're
if everybody's
100%
hurt.
healthy.
Okay.
There's a caveat
with
on that.
Turning around, to what degree?
Well, Trent Bray was asked about this. Oregon State has a better opponent coming to their building this week after getting ran all over by Nevada.
They do.
And he was asked about the defensive turnaround from Nevada to UNLV in 1 week. Here was Trent Bray.
It's just what it is. The guys that go in there they're on scholarship too, and they're here to do a job, and they got to go out there and do their job, and we just got to be disciplined in doing that work. It's not a talent thing. It's not there were very few plays where Nevada player beat an Oregon State player. It was more self-inflicted, getting up the field when you're supposed to sit at the line, or things like that create vertical seams in the run game that can't happen. So that's why I feel you can get it corrected. I don't see it being a talent basis.
I was happy to hear him say this, one, because he talked longer for than 10 seconds, usually every answer from him. He's getting better at that, and so I appreciate that. But the part that stuck out in that clip, it's not a talent thing. And that's interesting to me because we noted on Monday's show how decimated with injury they are. And it's not that he doesn't think the guys that are out aren't talented. It's that the head coach is basically saying, we don't have a talent problem. We have a assignment problem. Yeah. And so he thinks that you got scholarship athletes going out there could turn this around. They just need to be better on their assignments. This isn't a talent problem.
Yeah, I feel like he's stuck between a rock and a hard place, and what do you want him to say? We suck and all of our defense is out, so we're not going to be able to stop anything. That's not really going to get fans excited and want to buy tickets.
Well, but to say it's not a talent thing is not something you have to include in that answer.
You know what I'm thinking of?
What are you thinking of?
Remember when Oregon played Georgia in the opening game of the season?
Okay.
And remember what Kirby Smart said about Oregon and Dan Lanning?
Yeah,
he's like, he doesn't have. I mean, what do you want him to do here, right? Like, just they can't
basically
hang with
said
us.
Your team sucks.
Your team sucks. He'll get there, but your team sucks, and they're not at that point yet. That's what an opposing coach should say right now. You're out 17 players on defense, and you're too deep, and you're going to pretend like this isn't a talent issue. Depth was always the concern at Oregon State. They lost half their damn roster last season. They've tried to plug and play. They've been fine at times this year, but when you lose guys to that volume, you just don't have you were playing a tight end, a defensive end, and you're telling me that this isn't a talent problem? By the way, look at UNLV and what they've done running the football this year. They are averaging 262 rushing yards a game. The only team in the Mountain West that runs the ball more efficiently than them is, I know, shocking, Boise State, who has the best running back we've ever seen in college football. I know that's going to piss people off, but he's a stud. He's awesome, and Ashton Genty's one of the best this
why
year.
would that piss people off?
Yeah, come on. You got to go back to Barry Sanders and Thurman Thomas, and if you say best of all time, it upsets
There's
people.
like 12 teams that have more rushing yards than Ashton Genty in America.
It's wild. They ran UNLV last week against Utah State ran for 313 yards and nearly 7 yards a carry and 3 touchdowns. They had runs of 62, 33, 43. They are explosive on the ground. Their quarterback is a dynamic athlete. He had 55 rushing yards himself.
They have 5 players that have gotten 100 yards in a game. 5
this
players.
Is their strength.
And do you know what else they're good at? Explosives.
Yes.
They're third in the country with 30-plus yard plays. Third in the nation.
Yeah.
The Cougs are second. Trent Bray was also asked about, hey, man, your defense looked a little helpless. Do they need it? Are you going to step in? You were the former defensive coordinator of this program, but now you're the head coach. Are you going to step in and help coach the defense this week to get ready for UNLV? Here's what he had to say.
Being half in and half out doesn't work. I trust Keith. I trust the defensive staff. They're going to, fix those problems. I have total faith in them. And, and I'm always helping, making comments and helping out. So I'm always involved in both sides of the ball, but I don't feel, micromanaging to a certain degree, I think can be actually more harmful.
So he doesn't want to step in to a lot of those meetings and, make it feel like he's taking over as a pseudo DC.
It's a tough spot for a head coach to be in. We just kind of went through this with the Jets and their offense and taking away play calling rights and the awkward nature and tension that it creates. He definitely has a hand in what they do defensively. He definitely is in on those meetings, and he has a say in how he wants things to look as a head coach. He gets the final say in a lot of this stuff. But I do see his point, and I do appreciate him not throwing his defensive coordinator under the bus because, again, back to the original point, I don't care who is Nick Saban. If you pick anybody you want to be your defensive coordinator, you're playing tight ends at defensive end. What do you want them to do? When I didn't realize that the injuries were that bad.
Had been he did go into college as a defensive player.
I know that. He's also now a tight end, so they moved him positions. He
doesn't
doesn't practice day in and day out as a defensive end. That was not. If I said in August you're going to play a backup tight end at defensive end, how do you think your run defense is going to be?
Wouldn't feel
You'd say
great
we're going to
about
be
it.
terrible. So this is like. Again, he can say all he wants that this isn't a talent issue. This is just a scheme and fitting the gap and, assignment football and doing your 111, all the coach speak stuff, which is vitally important when playing defensive football because if one guy's out of position, that creates an explosive run. I don't know what you want them to do when you're down to 5 guys left of your 2 deep in your top 22 on defense. Maybe they get a bunch of guys back. It doesn't sound like everybody's going to be out for the year. A chunk of them will be, but they're hopeful some of those guys will return. And so maybe we see a slightly better run defense this weekend because of that. But I appreciate not throwing your DC under the bus when I don't know what you want him to do with that many injuries.
Well, I think the thing about the injuries is, and he did say that he's expecting some guys to be back, that not all those dudes are season ending, to your point. We just don't know who they are because he doesn't want to name names, but it's all about what they do in practice this week. That being said, I'm also not going to pretend that the run defense hasn't been questionable the last 4 weeks.
Totally fair. It has been. It was started against Oregon a little bit maybe before that too. San Diego State ran it okay, if I remember correctly.
San Diego State's running back is a pretty good. He's like the only good player they have on offense, so he had a nice little game for himself. We know what Oregon did. Colorado State came in and just bulldozed you all around the field, and we just watched what Nevada did. So I'm also not going to pretend the run defense hasn't been a little shaky for most of the year. So I guess the hard thing to parse out here for the Beavs would be I don't know how much of an impact some of those guys will make when they return.
Totally fair, especially considering the opponent you're playing this weekend. If this was, Utah State, maybe you're saying, all right, that'll make the difference. You're playing Boise State might end up winning the conference because they have the best player in the conference. I think you're playing the most complete team, potentially, and maybe that's unfair to Boise State, but UNLV's looked really good, and losing their quarterback has affected them in zero way, shape, or form.
I would argue they may have gotten better.
And the other side of this, too, is that their rush defense, UNLV's, is number 1 in the conference. They're the only team in the conference that's giving up fewer than 100 rushing yards a game as a team.
Well, in their conference. We're not in that conference.
That is true, in their conference.
We're
and
that is
true, and that's what Oregon State's going to want to do because their quarterback threw 4 picks last week. They want to run the football, and you're facing the best run defense in the conference. So I think your hope this weekend is, 1, guys get back healthy on defense, but 2, it's night game at Reeser Magic. They're a different team sometimes at home. They pull off games like this when you don't see it coming, and that's the hope that you have.
I want to say for the record, the way you just ended that is kind of sad to me because you're right. They do pull off magic at home at night. When they play USC, they're playing UNLV.
Said U in there. You got that going for you.
Josh Pate will join the program at 7:40. Coming up next, the reaction to something that happened in Eugene this weekend, and duck porn was released. Next on The Fan.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Got a lot of things to ask Josh Pate. Can he differentiate volumes of crowd noise after a certain point? And also, UNLV is coming Corvallis. How he's monitoring the non-group of 4 best teams. Boise State has been playing really well.
They will get an AQ, whoever ends up being the highest-ranked team.
Yep, UNLV is in this. Obviously, we talked about Army-Navy and what they've been this year. So we'll ask Josh Pate about that and some other college football things. We got a big weekend. We've got Georgia at Texas. We've got Bama at Tennessee.
We get UNLV Boise State, by the way, next week. So it could be a look-ahead spot for the Rebels this weekend.
There you go.
It's
and
a big game for them.
Don't forget the huge game of the week right here on The Fan on Friday. Oregon at Purdue.
Friday Night Lights. I remember Oregon playing at Purdue in 2008, I want to say. Down big, came back, won in overtime. Took that stupid drum and pushed it out of the stadium.
There you go.
There you go.
We beat Purdue pretty easily.
You did.
So
they made a change at quarterback, though. You never know. They got a backup playing now.
Didn't he get hurt, Card, or they?
I don't know
if
he got
him?
hurt.
I think he got hurt.
Okay, that
and then they fired an OC.
Well, they
since
changed
played
their
us.
OC too.
They did. They hung 40 points on Illinois last week. They're feisty. 40, almost a
Illinois
50
won
burger.
50,
They went for the win.
Almost a 50
overtime.
burger.
They went for a 2-point win.
Yeah, we're a little scared right now.
So we get to Josh Pate coming up at 7:40. The NCAA has responded to Dan Lanning acknowledging publicly that, yes, he indeed did manipulate the 12-man rule.
Yes.
I read the rule book.
You did?
No, Dan said. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I read the rule book.
Yeah, I saw it.
Underrated part, and I know I want to give a lot of credit. What Oregon's video team does is remarkable. It's pro sport level. The only little thing, and I don't think they were able to do it because they wanted such a quick turnaround, was highlighting that 12-man penalty thing. But again, I don't think they had the time for it. All that film, they had to break it down and condense it.
That was not. They didn't have any of that communication. That might have been a thing from Lanning too, of saying like, let's not put that in there. If they were talking about that on the sidelines, of like, let's not throw that in the movie.
Why would he say that though, and then publicly acknowledge that yes, he indeed manipulated the situation?
Yeah. I also think, and maybe I'm wrong on this, I also feel like that they would have, whether he said that or not on Monday night, I think this would have been a rule change. This was getting so discussed nationally.
You think if Lanning says basically like, no, I was
or just no comment or whatever, I think they still would have changed the rule because this had kind of caught in fire over the last couple of days, and it was getting talked about from wall to wall in this country. And I think they would have looked at it and said that does, whether he did it on purpose or not, that's kind of a dumb thing that's allowed to be able to do, and we should probably change that rule.
I have shouldn't be surprised, but the amount of Ohio State coping on Twitter the last 2 days, parsing out this second and that second, and we should have had 7 and 8, not 6, and the coping is not going well in Columbus, Ohio.
Which is funny because I'm sure that I would have been in the same spot if they slide 2 seconds earlier and kick a game-winning field goal. I'm sure there's coping that happens in our fan base, and we're freaking out, and Lanning still can't win the big one, and we're right where they are, which is why it was such an important game. The rational mind should tell you Ohio State's one of the best teams in the country. They had to go on the road in this game. They very easily could have won. It was a coin flip game. They very easily could have won. And they have one of the most talented rosters in the sport. They're not going anywhere. They will be in the mix the rest of the season. It's one of those where you love it because the reaction is still so strong, and that's what we love about college football, that it hasn't lessened the regular season at all. But you do have to at times like take a step back and remind yourself of like, that's right, we're 6 games in. They got Penn State on the road in a likely whiteout game in 2 weeks.
But if they lose to Penn State,
then it's different.
Penn State owns the path
tiebreaker,
to the tie.
No doubt about it. But if they go in and win that game by 14, which I wouldn't be surprised at all by,
I was actually surprised. I thought just Oregon and Ohio State would flip spots. I thought they'd keep Ohio State in 3rd.
Ahead of Penn State?
Yeah.
Well, the JP poll, the power rating poll that Pate puts out, it got people hot and bothered yesterday.
Which is also dumb because it's about neutral field, neutral site favorability.
Odds,
He reached out to FanDuel to say if Oregon and Ohio State played in Indianapolis next week in the Big Ten championship game, what would the line be? FanDuel told him it'd be Ohio State minus 2.5, which
I know it sounds crazy because the Ducks won. I think it's kind of right.
Yes.
I thought that the Ducks versus them thing they sent out, that video, I watched all 19 minutes of it. It was not porn for me, but I think everybody that wears green and gold
I had a full body boner for 2 weeks.
I think there was some weird feelings going on there of sports.
A lot of quacking.
Yes, very well put. A lot of quacking. And One thing that stuck out to me, look, getting a win, I think his reaction was part, I finally got that win, even though I've only been a head coach for 3 years. I also think there's a little bit of this, and this isn't meant as a shot. Ohio State has probably the most talented roster in college football. Everybody said that since the preseason and in the regular. And I think part of that was Lanning saying, like, I got my guys to believe, fight just enough, and we just barely, narrowly won that game. Oh, my God. Look at us. We can do it. Take down the team that has the talent.
The win was more important for the Ducks than the loss was devastating to Ohio State.
Don't tell Buckeye fan that.
Well,
yeah, Buckeye fan disagrees, but I think that's a valid point.
I think that's a good point, too.
And this is the reality. It's the same as Georgia-Bama. Like, you lose a regular season game, it's heartbreaking. You don't want to lose it, but you still have everything in front of you to play for. That's just the reality of the 12-team playoff that we're dealing with. I think he was so excited because just to get one of these, to just have a marquee win under his belt.
You have to have guys know it and feel it and see it.
There's a belief now in that locker room that we can go toe-to-toe with anybody that we play and we can beat them.
Mm-hmm.
And the other aspect that stood out to me in the documentary, and I talked about it on Monday, what made me feel so good, not just that they won the game, was that they weren't their best. Like, there was the idea maybe coming in that Ohio State is so good that do you have to play a perfect game to win this? Like, do you have to can't make a mistake and no penalties and can't miss red zone opportunities and you can't, like, everything has to align for you to win this game. That was some of the thought going in. And one of the opening scenes of that last night that they came out with, it was Lanning sitting with his coaches saying, guys, like, our good is good enough. We don't have to do anything above and beyond what we've done this year. If we just play good football and stick to our game plan, we can win this game.
Yeah.
And that ended up bearing out on Saturday.
Perfect. They just made less mistakes.
They made less mistakes.
Well, let me ask you that, because I never bought that. Did you buy that?
That they had to be at their best to beat them?
Yeah. Because I've been noting it on the show for that reason, is Ohio State was not playing perfect football all year.
No.
Their outcomes and their final scores, I didn't think indicated the games that they were playing. Now, I wouldn't say like Oregon could make all these mistakes and win. I didn't think Oregon had to play perfect to beat Ohio State. Did you buy that?
I didn't feel perfect, but I talked about this Monday. If you told me a clump of the mistakes that they made and you told me they were going to make those on Friday, I would have told you they would lose the game.
What if I told you the Ohio State mistakes?
Well, that's the other caveat.
Will
they
Howard
made a ton
on
of
3rd
mistakes
and
as well.
dropping an easy snap that Man, that drive is probably the most underrated drive of the game.
Yeah, they had the lead in the game. They got the goal
kind of
line
marching,
stop.
and they get out of the goal line, and they start, and they score. You're like, oh, now they're up 13.
Yeah, he flubbed the snap.
He dropped it. It's 4th and 15. Here's a punt. Ball back to Oregon.
Yeah, the other side of it, though, would be that what has killed Oregon in these big games in the last 2 years that they've lost is they've left points on the field, and they haven't been able to finish drives or go for it on 4th down, all that kind of stuff. They left a lot of points on the field on Saturday night, and that was the thing that if you told me they did going in, I would say that they wouldn't be able to win the game. But just knowing that our good is good enough, I think is a great confidence booster for that locker room.
At what point did he come down from that high, and how much did his head hurt, Dan Lanning? Because I watched that, and I'm like, you scream that much, you're that intense.
Sunday morning, that's a headache.
That come down is oh man, I need water. I got to hydrate.
Yeah. That's like waking up from a bad night of drinking, man.
Yeah.
You wake up Sunday morning and, buddy, that hurts.
Tank top Lanning.
Wife beater Lanning, man. He's out there.
Tank tops.
He's got the tank top on.
Tank tops.
FIBU. Get your FIBU t-shirts.
FIBU stands for what again?
We love everybody.
What?
I can't say it on the air.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Bleep everybody but us.
Yeah,
that's
right. All
That's
right.
what
That's
FIBU
what it
stands
is.
for.
FIBU, that's right. Josh Pate will join us at 7:40. Dirt and Sprague back with more, but first Swag with the Sports Update.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Stanford's. The classic American steakhouse has exactly what you've been craving. Visit them at Clackamas, Tanasbourne, or online at stanfords.com. First on The Fan. That Devontae Adams trade to the Jets, setting off a series of transactions Tuesday in the NFL. It included the Buffalo Bills acquiring receiver Amari Cooper and a 6th-round pick this year from the Browns in exchange for a 3rd-round pick this year and a 6th-round pick in 2026. Vikings send a couple of conditional late-round picks in 2026 to the Texans for running back Cam Akers. And the Lions agree to a 4-year contract extension with defensive tackle Elaine McNeil. $97 million all told. $55 million will be guaranteed. Aaron Judge got his bat going in Game 2 of the ALCS. 3 RBI, including a 2-run home run. And the Yankees 6-2 win over the Guardians has them with a 2-0 lead going to Cleveland for games 3 and 4 on Thursday and Friday. Today in Queens, it's game 3 of the NLCS. Dodgers will hand the ball to Walker Buehler, trying to get a quality start. That series all tied up at a game apiece. New York will counter with Luis Severino. 5:08 first pitch over on 910 ESPN Portland. Pre-game coverage will start at 4:30. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, and tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Hot Corner, now in its new time. It's crunch time.
Let's go!
Where Dirt and Sprague crunch the hot topics you want to hear.
What's the pressure?
Don't sit here and act like there's no. We get nervous teeing off in front of a gallery on the 10th hole at Eastmoreland.
Crunch time, brought to you by Crunch Fitness, with memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com.
Hey, Crunch Time, brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 a month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, online at crunch.com. Josh Pate, the commissioner of college football, coming up in 6 minutes. Got a chance to see him on Saturday down at Autzen. Excited to hear his thoughts and recap, and that is coming up in a few moments. Can anybody explain to me why Russell Wilson would start this Sunday?
Fields hasn't really been that good.
No, he hasn't.
They've won. They won against the Raiders. He wasn't great.
No, he wasn't. He has not been very good.
So I think the thinking from Tomlin would be...
Did we watch the Broncos last year?
We did.
Okay.
We have a new OC. We have a
Okay.
different OC than the Broncos had.
We do.
Look, I'm not a fan of it. I've been saying since the summer, just play Fields. He's younger. He's better. If anybody's going to get away with this, of course it's going to be Mike Tomlin.
They're going to win the game 10-9
and 8, and he's going to win this game. And Russ is going to be talked about because he threw for 135 yards and a touchdown. And it looks so much better. We know what this is going to be. And I like Mike. I actually like Mike Tomlin. Right? I have a bet against him this year. So the sum of where this is coming from. No other franchise and coach could get away with this. No. This would sink a season.
It would.
It's quite literally sinking the Raiders.
Yeah.
And I know Justin Fields and Russ probably better than Minshew and O'Connell.
Yeah.
My point is when you play this like he's not my quarterback, but he's my quarterback now, but I might play the other guy. That guy's not that good. I'm going to go back to the other guy. He's going to go back to Fields. We know how this is going to go.
Yeah.
He is the only one that can get away with this. And it's largely because TJ Watt's been a decoy.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, he had 145 passing yards in a 20-point win over the Raiders last week.
They won that game because of Najee Harris.
They
and
ran the ball.
O'Connell was the Raiders quarterback.
And their defense is outstanding. I don't get it, man. I know this is getting talked about, but we'll see if it ends up happening. They play Sunday night against the Jets. Let's get to the commissioner of college football, Josh Pate, one of my favorite segments of the week. He is next on 1080 The Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Woo! Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainshomservices.com.
Delivers Judge sky high. This one on the infield and playable. And it is caught. No, drop by the shortstop Jimenez. Oh, boy, what a mistake.
Call Ravitch, ESPN Radio on the call. Cleveland dropping a fly ball at shortstop, and New York gets the win over the
I bet you couldn't believe when this happened yesterday. Just glued to your TV. Like, how do you drop that? Because you're glued to this series. That was the thing that got Aaron Judge out of his slump. He had a high pop-up they couldn't catch. Then he hit a dinger later in the game.
What a call by Ravitch. What a game. What a series, Cleveland and New York. Who's stinking it up? Cleveland in the first two games, brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Make your home services delightful at the pros tackle the projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online. Three Mountains Home Services. That's threemountainshomservices.com.
Hey, everybody. Sprague here. For 23 years, my friend
we were kids, so, you want to have the synergy there. Got a chance to see him this weekend, and seeing Pate in person, it's a big deal. He's like a presidential candidate.
Yeah,
man.
You said you were nervous to say hi.
Everybody's around him. He's got wads of big league chew in.
Yeah.
He's hanging with the boys guys. You got to kind of wait in line to go get close to him. It's a whole thing.
Also wearing shades, which is are you cool enough to come talk to me? Because right now I'm cooler than you.
I'm definitely not cool enough to talk to the commissioner of college football, but we are cool enough to talk to him every Wednesday on the show. Josh Pate, CFB. Josh Pate's college football show every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, 5 o'clock on YouTube. Check the podcast wherever you get it. We asked you, Pate, last week, are you ready for what Autzen was going to bring? And we'll get to how you've pissed off the rest of the country on your comments on this. Just your thoughts and what a game Saturday night at Autzen.
I have been looking forward to this radio hit where we can just slobber all over that game Saturday since its conclusion. It was wonderful. It was magnificent. Dare I say it was life-changing, and you know how rarely I delve into the hyperbolic. Yeah. I don't know if you can fully appreciate the flack that I've taken for committing the crime of telling the truth to the rest of the country about Autzen Stadium, but I have done that. I will embrace the hostile college football public if that's what it takes to properly convey what we all experienced up there last Saturday. And oh, by the way, Oregon won a pretty big game as well.
Yeah. I want to ask you very quickly, because you went to Washington, Oregon last year, and you had talked about how loud Husky Stadium got, especially on those fourth down moments. How do you, because I said Monday, I can't parse out noise past a certain point. Eventually my ears are ringing. It's all loud. I don't know how to differentiate it. Can you do that? Can you hear a difference past a certain point and say, no, Autzen is indeed the loudest Big Ten venue?
Well, I know that you have recency bias, so the most recent sounds the most loud or loudest. That game at Husky Stadium last year was wild. I think the difference with this one, this past Saturday, is there was a moment there. There were a couple of sequences where there were multiple false starts followed by positive plays for Oregon, and that works a crowd into an absolute frenzy. And so at that moment, I don't know what in the world people are doing with decibel readings, because I trust a scoreboard decibel reading like I trust the National Enquirer in a checkout line. So I could not care less about decibel readings. But if we were keeping them officially, yeah, that moment I felt like Oregon peaked more so than Washington did. But that's not to take away anything from that place, because Washington was insanely loud, as any Oregon fan who made that trip knows.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I made that comment on Monday. It felt like that drive, maybe third one of the game for Ohio State. They had those false starts, the delay of game on the punt. It felt like that was the moment that some of the volume peaked, obviously, until near the end of the game. Now, you've been getting it from all over the country by saying a place you've been is loud to people who have not been to that place, which I have found quite funny. I did want to ask, though, now I know that the JP poll is a poll. It's not it's a power rating. It's not a ranking. How have my brethren in the state of Oregon handled what you did last night and your latest JP poll?
Well, let's get it clear now. I didn't do anything. The computer did.
It's true. Very true.
I just delivered the news.
Right.
I don't take the blame. I just take the credit.
Yeah.
So it's very simple. It's not really all that controversial. Good luck telling the comment section that. If I'm ranking teams, Oregon's ahead of Ohio State today. But if I'm power rating them, if I'm doing nothing more than gauging neutral field favorability, it's as easy as me calling FanDuel and asking them what the game would be today on the neutral field. And they told me we would put Ohio State as a 2.5-point favorite today. Well, that's the end of that. I put Ohio State above Oregon. That's the difference in a power rating and a ranking. Now, however our friends in Northwest in Oregon taken it, they've taken it fine because they almost don't even care. I don't think I don't even remember any negative comments on it. They basically said, yeah, we get it. We just beat them on the field. We'll do it again. We're fine with it. We're good. I mean, we beat them having lost Birch moments before the game, seemingly. So we'll be all right. Thanks for coming.
Lanning was in the video that Oregon sent out yesterday, obviously fired up. You saw it in person post-game. It clearly looked like a guy that wanted that win, not only for himself, but, to help his team believe. I could ask you about Oregon, but I actually want to ask you the other side of that. Ohio State came in as the favorite. They came in largely regarded as maybe the best roster in college football. What surprised you about what Ohio State could not do or how they looked on Saturday against Oregon?
Well, it's the second part. It's not what they couldn't do because they ran the ball for 120 in the first half, and then they really got away from it, and they got away from it to the tune of 19 yards rushing in the second half. Now, a lot of that has to do with Oregon. I'm not trying to take anything away from Oregon, but also just the way the game was called in the second half was more indicative of what you would do if you were playing catch-up. And Ohio State was not playing catch-up. In fact, for a vast majority of the second half, they had the lead, and it was always a one-possession game. This was never a two-possession game at any point, I don't think. So that surprised me. And then the other part is there was no – in these kind of games, there's no knockout blow. It's just the cumulative effect of small wins here and there. Dan Lanning talked about jabs after the game. I was sitting there in team meetings with him Friday. That's all they talked about is we don't need haymakers. Our jabs are good enough. We don't need to do anything extraordinary. Who we are is good enough. And Ohio State believed the same thing. And so it's not any one decided advantage. No one dominated the game one way or another. But it did surprise me that Oregon was the team that owned it more on the line of scrimmage, because that is very much in the wheelhouse of what Ohio State should be able to have and should be able to travel with. And you know what? If they play the game again, maybe it's different, but I don't know that they'll play the game again. I just know what I watched Saturday night. So those things maybe mildly surprised me.
Interesting. We're talking with Josh Pate. Josh Pate's college football show every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, 5 o'clock live on YouTube. You can check the podcast wherever you can find it. He is a defender of Autzen Stadium. For that, we will always love him. He's the commissioner of the sport, and we get to talk to him every Wednesday at 7:40. You got into something, Pate, on your show Sunday that was an interesting note that I hadn't really thought about going into the game as a positive for Oregon, and I'm as a honk as you can get. The coaching advantage in terms of assistants, it felt like there was a strong advantage for Ohio State coming into this game. You got Chip Kelly, what he's meant to offensive football, Jim Knowles, and that's supposed to be the guy that's going to solve all their woes at Ohio State. Like, it felt like at a coordinator spot, they had a major advantage. You kind of went into that Sunday about how you didn't feel like they won that, and maybe Oregon had the coaching advantage going in. How big is that for Dan Lanning? I mean, this win is obviously massive, but in that kind of matchup, thinking that Ohio State almost has 3 head coaches, and then you have on Oregon sideline Tosh Chapoy, who's mainly known as a good recruiter and a guy who faked injuries back in the day against Oregon, and Will Stein's kind of an unknown nationally. How big of a surprise was that to you?
It was a pretty mild surprise, I can tell you, to a lot of people in the coaching world and in the agent world and the coaching search firm world. It was a pretty big surprise. Like, they thought that one of the big edges Ohio State had here, and they're not wrong to believe this, is that the cumulative experience on the Ohio State side, having Chip Kelly as an OC, having Jim Knowles, completely gray hair as a defensive coordinator, and then Ryan Day as the head coach, they thought that was going to be a big advantage there. And, you look at the way that game matched up, what a night for Taj Lupoy. Like, what a resume game for him. What a resume game for Will Stein. And then the Dan Lanning, Ryan Day thing, that's what gets the headlines, but it's really the way they've staffed, and it's the way that they've put their organization together. That's where a head coach's merit is reflected on game day. And then you'll have some decisions that get made, some clock management stuff, but I was really more focused on the support staffers, because that's an area that I'm telling you, a lot of folks expected Ohio State to have the edge in, and they did not.
Sometimes you need to see a game happen, I think, to get a good feel of it. You've watched all of the college football. You go to great venues every weekend. I know you believe in Oregon. You picked Oregon to win this game this past weekend. I'm just curious, as somebody who has seen a lot of these teams in person, 3 years ago, Oregon got their teeth kicked in by Georgia. They were not close to that level of talent. Has Oregon made that leap enough for you to say they can beat anybody in America on any given Saturday in any playoff game?
Oh, yeah. If they played Georgia again today, that would be a complete dogfight game. I don't care where they play it. So the gap's never as big as it looks. We score in 3s and 7s in this sport. So you can have some areas that you fall short in magnified, and you end up losing the game by 50, and it's just, you think you'll never get there. Well, that's really not how wide the gap is. The gap is as big as recruiting a couple of good classes, making a couple of staff changes, and then whatever happens on the other side of the country happens, and all of a sudden you're there. I'll tell you, one of the great testaments of that is Brent Venables' year 1 at Oklahoma gets beat by Texas by 100, and the very next year they beat him outright. So, what changed? Did 50 points worth of team change? No, it's just the way the sport works. So it's the same with Oregon right now. And then the other part of that is, it's ironic I just mentioned the Red River game because Dylan Gabriel played his best game against Texas last year. And lo and behold, in his biggest moment this year, he's played his best game so far. Evan Stewart, same way, steps up as big as he's stepped up all year. And what you'll notice about these big-time programs is that age-old adage that gets way overused, even though it's true, is the big-time players stepping up in the biggest moments. Well, that happens with the best teams. So if that is a hallmark of Oregon football, then I can reliably sort of extrapolate that forward. I can rely on them being 110% of their performance level in the biggest moments. And if I can rely on that, Oregon's good enough to play with and beat probably anyone in the country on any given Saturday.
Yeah, I was something going into the game that gave me some confidence was Gabriel and his performances in big games and kind of throwing some of those dud interceptions out, and he was outstanding on Saturday night. Now, you loved 2007. We loved 2007. It was a fever dream for anybody that was alive and remembers. It was my freshman year of college and just an incredible year. Oregon was one of the teams that got to number 2 before Dennis Dixon's knee snapped in half. We have hoped that maybe we could have another year like that in the sport. Feels like maybe we're trending on that this year where Georgia's shown a vulnerability. Alabama, hell, Oregon, for as good as that win was, they barely beat Idaho and Boise in the first 2 weeks of the season. You have to have, and you've argued this, you can't have an elite team in order to have a 2007. Does Texas doing what you think they're going to do this weekend erase that narrative and they are the elite team?
It would if they do what I think they're going to do. And for the uninformed portions of the audience, I think Texas is going to beat and handle Georgia. That's what I think they're going to do. Now, as you guys know, there has been a time or two throughout recorded history where I've been wrong. So if I'm wrong on this and Georgia goes in there and wins, we are in a world immediately where every team has looked vulnerable and most of them have a loss. Bama plays Tennessee this weekend. You got Georgia, Texas. We just had Ohio State, Oregon, which is a beautiful thing because we're knocking all these big-time versus big-time matchups out early in October and mid-October. So by Halloween, we may have abject chaos, which is very Halloweenish if you think about it. So I think that Georgia-Texas game is really big because it goes from us feeling like a bunch of chaos funneling towards an inevitable result to a bunch of chaos funneling towards who knows what. That's the difference in having an elite team versus not having any.
I know the game isn't necessarily on the radar of some of those big games, Bama, Tennessee, Georgia, Texas, but the AQ spot. Boise's having a nice run here. They damn near beat Oregon. Jainty looks like he's going to break every record and at least be in New York as a Heisman finalist. UNLV lost a very close game against Syracuse a couple weeks back, but they've continued rolling even without their quarterback. They're coming to Corvallis. The Bees just got ran all over by Nevada. I'm curious, are you keeping an eye on these AQ teams, these teams, the Army Navies who are undefeated, the teams that will potentially find their way in the playoff and may be in an upset spot? Are you following what they're doing this season, and will you be following what they're doing this weekend?
Big time. And I'll tell you what's on the horizon, not to play look ahead, but I can afford to do it because all I have to do is talk for a living. There is a game next Friday night in Las Vegas. It's Boise and UNLV. And if you have UNLV able to get that win this weekend, you are going to probably set up a situation where the Friday night game is maybe the G5 game of the year. And it could be, in fact, it will be that the team that emerges from that one would probably be in that scenario the favorite to make it as the G5 AQ. So, and there's a lot of acronyms in college football these days, I just realized. So I'm looking forward to that one because also I've gone to a G5 game once in my entire tour history, and that was UCF at Tulane a couple of years ago, but never a Friday night game. And all I can tell you is it's on the radar for next weekend. That's all I can say right now.
That is a fun matchup.
A little Friday night weekend in Vegas.
I think Pate just wants Vegas.
Who can say no to Las Vegas, man? Josh Pate, he's the commissioner of the sport. Catch his show, the Josh Pate College Football Show, every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, 5 o'clock on YouTube. Check the podcast wherever you find it. Great to see you this weekend, man. Thanks for the wonderful comments about Autzen and spreading the word of our great stadium and program across the country. We always enjoy the time and can't wait to catch up with you again next Wednesday.
I appreciate it, guys.
There you go. Josh Pate, the commissioner of the sport.
He is right in the sense of they play by 7s and 3s. What I would also add to that, though, everybody, including yourself, noted that when they were playing Georgia, Georgia got on the field and it was an immediate,
Yeah.
oh, that's an NFL team and we're not yet. And so, like, I hear him about the score stuff and how it can be different year to year. I think what he highlighted and what we talked about on Monday, where did you win the matchup? In the trenches. Where do you almost, in Oregon's history of being great and elite, where do they almost never win the matchup? In the trenches. And so I understand 49-3 is not maybe representative of the difference, but you noted it in person during that game. And now fast forward a couple years later, and you're handling Ohio State on the lines of scrimmage.
Walking around on the field Saturday before the game, Ohio State's massive. That is a massive football team. You didn't have that feeling. And that was the one thing walking around where I felt like that was going to be the case, but you're always just curious. You size up when they get off the bus. How big do they look and how intimidating are they? And walking around, maybe a slight size advantage for Ohio State, but it clearly didn't show up on the field. And that was that's the warming of the heart feeling of like, okay, we're there and you can hang in the biggest spots.
Texas handling Georgia.
He loves Texas this weekend.
He loves Texas in general. I think he picked him
in
the
Austin.
SEC.
Georgia's got to go back on the road. Clunker in Tuscaloosa a couple of weeks ago.
We'll see.
At Downton Kirby.
This is a big game for Sark.
It's a big game for Sark. It's a big game for Kirby too. It'd be a 2-loss team.
You're right. Probably eliminates them.
Well, they're not eliminated.
No. I would say from the SEC title game, but some of these other teams, like Ole Miss, just lost their second game.
Ole Miss has 2 losses.
I think Bama's potentially going to lose this weekend.
Bama's on the road to Tennessee. They could have 2 losses already, so it's a big one for Kirby as well early on in the season. And it's going to be the SEC gets the spotlight this weekend. There's no doubt about that. We got a lot to get to in the final hour of the show. Is this troll worth it? I want to ask that question. I'm going to play Flip It or Stick It with some preseason stuff. We'll do that in the final hour. It's loaded. Don't go anywhere. Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Ahoy there, it's Sook. And let me ask you something. If you're losing your hair, you
Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, NFL teams making deals on Tuesday. The Buffalo Bills need a little more support with their young wide receiving crew. They bring in veteran Amari Cooper from the Browns in exchange for a third-round pick this year and a sixth-round pick in 2026. Vikings sending a couple of conditional late-round picks in 2026 to the Texans for running back Cam Akers. Now that Joe Mixon is back in Houston, the Lions agree to a 4-year contract extension with defensive tackle Aleem McNeil. That's worth $97 million, $55 million of which is guaranteed. Game 3 of the NLCS coming up this afternoon in Queens. Dodgers will turn to Walker Buehler as their starting pitcher up against Luis Severino for the Mets. 5:08 first pitch. You'll hear it on 910 ESPN Portland. Pregame coverage starts at 4:30. And the Blazers continue their preseason slate tonight at Moda Center, hosting the German club team Ulm for a 7 o'clock tip. Reports are Anthony Simons could be making his preseason debut after sitting out the first 2 games with knee soreness. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan Merch Locker has new shirts from the fan shows and hosts you love. Get yours now at 1080thefan.com.
Leroy Jenkins.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
Dirt got fired. He's looking for a job. Don't hire him. He's just stay away from the guy. It's sports radio, 1080 The Fan. Not with Dirt. Sorry, dude.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
What is a Sprague? We should just call him Craig. Yeah, that's your new name, Craig.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
I'm here to support a friend and a work colleague.
You don't know what love is.
Love you very much, Francine.
The Fan.
Hey, let's do this. Final hour, Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, live on YouTube, as we are every single day.
Period. We will put in a request. We had listeners saying that as soon as Pate went on, the app cut to a commercial.
If that happened and you were listening on the app, the podcast will be up shortly, and you can listen to the entire thing.
You'll get the whole thing. There's something goofy going on with White Orbit in here. So.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Must be new.
130.
131.
131.
Today's 131.
131. We got a lot to get to in the final hour of the show. I want to play a fun game of Flip It or Stick It, quickly becoming one of my favorite segments that we do occasionally on this fine show.
Yeah.
And we'll see what we want to flip and what we want to stick. I want to start with this. Is the troll worth it? So I didn't realize this was a thing, and then I saw this yesterday, and it was just glorious. USC played Penn State this weekend. Really good game. Down to the wire, went to overtime. Penn State wins the game. Walk-off field goal. There was a Penn State fan that some people noticed ran out on the field right after the USC team took the field.
As the game
started. They take the field. Here come the Trojans. And there's like a guy in blue running out on the field. It's like, what's going on there? Well, it has been discovered, and maybe this has been public knowledge and I just didn't know it. If you pay, I think the range is anywhere from $1,450 to about $1,800. You will be allowed to run on the field with the USC football team.
You get to come out of the tunnel, and it depends on the opponent. So this game is obviously going to be the max of
$1,800, right?
Yeah.
So you're playing a Baylor School for the Blind. It's on the shorter end of that. Penn State's in town. You're going to pay the $1,800. There is a Penn State fan who bought that right, paid $1,800 to run on the field. He was wearing head-to-toe Penn State gear.
Yeah.
He had a GoPro or like a selfie stick, and he was filming the entire thing as he's running. There's video of it you can go find. I think he posted it to his TikTok.
Audio's not great.
Audio's not great, so you can't play it. But he's running out on the field saying, "Go Lions, let's go Penn State!" Like legitimately USC team, and then this group of people, and it's this guy in all blue. And first off, I just chuckled of like, you're that desperate for money that you're letting fans pay to rush. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this worth the troll?
Well, is it worth it if you have a good paying job and disposable? Like
you have disposable income. Oregon State has you schedule the game somehow again against USC. You go down there.
Yes.
Head to toe, orange and black, Brandon Sprague. Let's go, Beavers!
I would wear the Lloyd suit from Dumb and Dumber. I would wear the all orange suit and trot out with the Trojans.
That would be so good.
Screaming, "Go Beavs!" If you have the money, then sure, it's worth it. I'm curious about a couple things. Vanderbilt did something a couple weeks ago. They beat Bama, and what they did was they recovered the field goal out of the river, and then they started breaking it off into pieces and selling pieces for $500 to $1,000. I guess I get it. And if you're a Vanderbilt alum and you want a piece of a field goal to say, oh, it's the field goal. Okay, good for you. Why does USC need to do this? Why do they need to have any fan pay $1,000
to run on the field?
They're going to make $80 million from the Big Ten Network.
Yes, they have a full Big Ten rights. They're in Hollywood. How do you not have money?
Their NIL is covered by Nikes and Beats by Dre. They got all these big corporations that pay their athletes.
What are we doing?
Look, this is not an excuse in any way, but I think it highlights a little part of maybe why USC has not fully ever turned it around post-Pete Carroll.
They're letting fans pay to run on the field.
Is that they're not managed very. What are you doing?
How do you not vet this too? Of like, all right, you want to sell this, fine.
How do you vet it?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Are you a Trojan fan?
I mean, if this guy shows up, he's standing in the tunnel in all blue. I'm like, here's your $1,500 back. We're not going to let you run on the field, dude. It's not going to. You're not rushing our field after our team takes the field wearing all Penn State gear.
So if you go back and watch this video, if you haven't seen it, you got to find this video. It's hilarious. I would say there's maybe 8, 10 Trojan fans ahead of him.
There's a clump of Trojan fans.
Okay, you need 10 to 12 G's that bad. You're making $80 million.
I know. It's so like they're not poor. They shouldn't be poor.
I think it's such a bad look for your school. Although, what sport would this? I think the dumbest sport to have this happen would be the NBA. If the NBA allowed fans to pay their way to come out of the tunnel with
I want more
team,
than that. I want layup line. Give me in the layup line.
You've got to go through the layup line.
If I'm paying money, give me in the layup line.
Really?
I'm not affecting anybody's pregame warm-up. I'm just taking my layup. I'll go get back in line. It's not throwing anybody off. Let me have my tearaway pants all the way open on each side because you got to have the tearaway pants open, and let me get my layups up pregame.
Let me ask sincerely. We work in AM radio.
Or batting practice would probably take
fill in the blank of how little we make. How much would you honest hand to God pay right now to come out of the tunnel, game 1 against the Warriors, and be in the layup line? Opening night. You come out when Mason says, here comes the Trailblazers.
Here come your Blazers.
You get to be in that layup line opposite Steph Curry. How much would you honestly take out of your bank account and pay for it? What is the biggest amount?
That would be pretty cool.
Would you pay a G? Would you think about it?
I'd think about it. Probably not, but I'd think about it. If it was $1,000, I'd think about it.
So if you're thinking about it, why not just do it?
Yeah.
Swag's like, I'm scared of. I think Swag would
come
pay
on. It's like one
2 Gs.
Pilot's game. Get out there, get your layups in. What are we doing? It's just, come on, home opener. You're working for free. That's all it is, man. Batting practice would be the other one that would get me to consider it. Like if you could pay to go into the cage pregame, music's playing, fans are starting to fill in.
Yeah.
Let me get my cuts, kind of rotate in and out. I would consider
batting practice would be fun, but it's a little less because there's not very many people in that
It's not a full arena, totally. Yeah.
Now, what if I said you also get to be a team captain, dap up like a LeBron
out at the center court,
an Embiid? Yeah, you're at center court.
You're feeling the ball. I got to feel the ball.
You're waiting for the ball to be passed down from the 300 section. Like, how much are we paying for the layup line and to be a team captain for one night?
That would, I don't. I'm still not going. $1,000's my limit. I'm cutting it off at $1,000.
But there would be $1,000 to carry one of the Oregon flags out of the tunnel after the motorcycle.
I don't think I would. Not to carry the flag out. I don't think I'm already down there. Like I would totally feel different running out of the tunnel, but standing on the field, you get a feel for what it's like. Not quite running on the field. I get that. But I saw this yesterday. I had me cracking up. This is they got to be terrified of this thing going viral, and now every big game that they have at home of fans wanting to go do, like opposing fans buying this.
Really?
Because for a lot of people, $1,500 is not that much money.
Yeah, but for a lot of people it is.
Yeah, I mean, dude, there was a guy. So
was this a student or was it an alum?
It's just a Penn State fan. He's just a diehard Penn State fan.
It was an alum that lived in Southern California, so had a local zip code.
I was talking to Dusty before the pregame show on Saturday that we were all concerned about how many Ohio State fans were going to be in town, and there was a lot of red walking around. You're like, oh, God, what 60-40 was the rumor online of what it could look like. Wasn't quite that, but there was a lot of red there. Dusty has a buddy who I believe he said has 6 tickets, season tickets.
Okay.
Decent seats, 15 rows up, I think on the opponent sideline, so under the cover.
Yeah.
He got a call from an Ohio State fan. I don't know how this worked out, how they found it. There was an Ohio State fan that called him and offered him $25,000 for the 6 tickets. He turned it down.
I would have sold those.
He turned it down.
Straight cash.
Which I jokingly said on the show
Would
of
you have
like,
sold it?
Dan Lanning needs to find all those fans that got an offer and like make a phone call to them. Like, you turned down $25K for 6 tickets?
Well, that was the other thing. In watching that Ducks versus them video, the camera on the field, it looked like more red on that camera than it did on the TV.
I mean, there was a lot of red in the stadium.
Yeah, I know, but I was actually like, whoa, that's more red than it looked like on television from that camera angle. Man, 25 G's or the game of your life.
And then the game ends up going that way. Would you be able to forgive yourself if the game went that way and you sold the tickets and you didn't go?
I mean, you left before it ended.
Well, I didn't pay for a ticket. I'm not spending thousands of dollars.
I think that might make it more satisfying. You paid $25,000 to come
and
watch
you saw
this
them
team lose to my team in the building.
Yeah, aren't you going to Rennie's and just buying whatever you want, getting housed, and then Ubering home?
Because I'm guessing he probably has some other friends or whatever. It's like, even if you were there, maybe tailgating outside with a TV or whatever, you could still feel like that would make it hurt worse. Like if you
and if they lose, you're outside and you're kind of like, oh well, I didn't witness that, but I got 25 G's out of that experience.
That's good. That's good. Somebody said catch in the bullpen. They'd want to pay for it. Unless you have you want to catch like a starting pitcher as they warm up.
Oh, be the bullpen catcher warming up the starter?
No. You do not want, like, unless you were like a minor league catcher or a college catcher.
Well, that might be a college person.
Might be. You do not want to do that. I'm just going to tell you right now, your hand will break.
What about what's I'm blanking right now. The start car for NASCAR.
That guy, that'd be kind of cool. The pace car.
Pace car, yeah.
Driving the lap at the Daytona 500 or
Bob,
whatever.
Go. There's an accident. Go.
That would be fun.
Somebody said there was just an auction for the Portland Timbers to be sitting on the bench while the team warms up. So they're auctioning that off. 4 people. The latest bid I saw was $150 total.
Now, if you want to get creative and make a good amount of money, because I don't think this is making them enough to like, why would this be worth it for you?
Because to your point, you're going $1,500 average a pop. There was probably 10 to 15 people that ran out on the field in the video.
Yeah, there's not that many people. Most of them are dressed like regular. They're not even like wearing
old
Trojan
lady running
gear.
out there in like jeans. Like, what are you doing?
How
15,
much?
That's $22,000 is what you're making if that's the average.
Like, you cannot need $22,000 that much. You're a college institution. How much would it be worth it to not only come out of the tunnel, but you get to call a play?
Now we're talking. I'm taking my shot.
Go deep.
All verticals.
Forwards.
Let's go. Come on. Take your shot, Will. I'm in on the headset. Who the hell is this guy on the headset right now? Actually, I spent $50,000 to call this play, Will, so I'm going to go ahead and go.
It's just such a bad look for your institution when an opposing fan comes out there like, go Lions.
Dude, it's so bad, man.
Sums up their year, too. They just had their star linebacker red shirt. Like, boy. That thing, it might be a 7-5 year. I honestly thought they could be 9-3 this year. They're losing guys left and right. He's leaking confidence.
Not good, Bob. 3 games away from being undefeated, though. Before we get to our game of flip it and stick it, how would you feel if your coach said this? West Virginia was a team that came into the year with decent expectations. Remember, they got body bagged in week 1 by Penn State. They lost to Iowa State last week. They get Kansas State at home this week, so another ranked team coming to town.
Yeah.
And Neil Brown is their head coach. He was asked at his press conference this week how the fans should feel because they keep having these big games at home and they keep losing these big games at home.
Yeah.
And he said, I get that they want to win, but what I would say is, did they have a good time? Did they enjoy it? It's a pretty good atmosphere, assuming they had a pretty good time tailgating. So if they're in the deal for the enjoyment, then I would come back. I look at the weather. It's going to be nice again. I get they're frustrated that we didn't win. We played a tough schedule. Everybody that's beat us hasn't lost. That's no excuse. It's just the truth. Games in our league are to come down to the fourth quarter, and I don't think this one is going to be any different. We need him to help us. Would you like your coach telling you, well, the atmosphere was good and the weather was nice, so come back. Pay for another ticket.
The Jackie Moon now of
Yes.
college football.
That's your sell job to come to the Kansas State game. Now we're going to win this weekend, but dude, the weather forecast looks pretty solid in West Virginia.
I mean, is this not whole segment been Jackie Moon, a guy shooting a full court shot for 10 G's, aka a guy coming out of a tunnel?
It totally
this
is
terrible. Didn't they play Penn State to start the year and they got
They did. Week
destroyed
one.
in that game?
I spragged the line on that game. 34-12 was your final. I thought they can cover that number. It was like 10.5. Didn't happen.
Yeah, I don't know if the weather and good atmosphere is going to be enough for them, though they are diehard fans over there.
Yeah, they'll be there.
What was the final of that Iowa State game?
28-16.
Yeah, it didn't feel very close when I kept checking.
My Cyclones still undefeated, man. Still undefeated. So
I think Kansas State's going to go in there and win.
Probably, but hey, you can still have a good time and the weather's going to be nice. So that was the answer from Neil.
Is that why you go to football games?
That's it. As the weather's nice. Weather was beautiful in Eugene this weekend. That is for sure.
It was a nice weekend.
Let's get to our game of Flip It and Stick It. Do you remember what you thought, and do you want to stick with it, or are we flipping? And we'll let you know how the audience feels about this as well. We'll get to that coming up next on The Fan.
It's time for a sports injury report. The injuries and rehab that impact the success of sports teams. Brought to you by Rock Orthopedic.
At the quarterback position, like I said last week, we were scheduled for Russ to work in totality. He did that. Over the course of the week, I got comfortable with his ability to display his health. Now it's about, knocking the rust off.
That is Mike Tomlin knocking the rust off of Russell Wilson, who evidently might start. They play Sunday night against the Jets.
Yeah, their quarterback play has not been good. They beat the Raiders in convincing fashion, largely because of T.J. Watt and Najee Harris. Yeah, not surprised by this at all. I'm sure Justin Fields will start at some point after Russ.
It's the final of this game. 13-9. Steelers still win. Sports Injury Report presented by Rock Orthopedic, board-certified specialists who diagnose and treat the widest range of orthopedic cases with care and expertise. A scheduled appointment with Dr. Brian Puskis. Visit rocpdx.com.
Oregon
love song.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
That's a good one. Somebody asking Vancouver Ford text line, how much, Dirt, how much did you pay to hit the ceremonial tee shot for the Masters?
How much would you pay? Right now.
He said, I'm guessing Teddy Ballgame's never going to college. Yeah, there goes. You got to get a scholarship, bud. That money's gone. Sorry.
How much equity we got in this
Can
house?
you imagine how nervous you would be hitting that shot?
No way.
Stop.
Why?
Stop it.
Why would you be nervous?
You play through a group and you get nervous.
No.
Yes.
Why would you get nervous for that shot?
Because you're going to shank it and hit somebody in the shin?
Yeah, but I paid to do that.
Just acting like you wouldn't be nervous.
I wouldn't.
On national television hitting a tee shot. That is such a
all.
crock of ass.
Not at all.
I'm gonna
Goes
laugh.
up there like Rodney Dangerfield. Place your bets. Place your
Yeah,
bets.
left side of the fairway, right side of the fairway.
I might contemplate going Happy Gilmore if I paid for that shot. I'm getting weird and having fun.
Do you guys remember, let's play the fun game of flip it or stick it preseason prediction style.
Now, you'd swing out of your shorts.
Yeah, I mean, you got to swing hard.
You got to swing out of your shorts.
You got to go for it. You got to try and hit one as far as you can and live with the consequences.
Yeah, you have to care more about swinging, hitting it hard, and having it go distance than like lightly, gently swinging
I'm not hitting a
through
bunt
to go straight.
I'm not going single up the middle.
No,
we're we're seeing how far this thing can go and how sideways it can go.
And I kind of want to go forward.
All right. Do you guys remember your preseason predictions for the 4 Northwest schools?
Mine were ambitious, if I remember correctly.
Okay, let's go through
I do
these.
remember my Duck one, though. 13-0 and
You
the
did.
number 2 seed in the playoff.
That was your thought.
I'm sticking
I
with
had
that.
10-2 with Oregon.
You did have 10-2 with Oregon.
I had 8-4 with Oregon State.
9-3.
9-3.
9-3.
Okay, and then Washington State, I had 7-5.
You had 7-5.
And Washington, I think I had 8-4.
6-6.
6-6. Okay.
Which
so I've gone back.
probably
I was
feel better
ambitious
about that.
with the Dogs. That I need to
You
flip
had
that.
8-4 with Washington.
Yeah, we need to
So
flip
let's go
that.
through. Let's play a fun game of flip it or stick it. So here's how we all felt about Washington State preseason. I got poll questions up on this, by the way. You can go vote at Dirt and Sprague on Twitter. Final record. We're at the halfway point for everybody. I guess Washington technically a game over because they played 7. They got a bye this weekend, so everybody will be at 7 after this weekend. The Cougs right now 5-1 at the halfway point of the season. Our preseason predictions. You both said 7-5 for the Cougs. I said 8-4. Are we flipping it or are we sticking it?
I'm gonna flip it. I'll bump it up to 8-4 with you.
Only 8-4. Now,
Yeah.
have you looked at the rest of Washington State's schedule? Would be my question.
Yeah, they still got a few.
I'm gonna flip. I think they're gonna be better. They have Hawaii. They should win.
Yes, this
San Diego
weekend.
State's terrible.
Yep.
Utah State's won 1 game.
Yep.
New Mexico.
gotta
Which
go
one's the bad one? New Mexico and New Mexico State. I think it's New Mexico State is the
I
bad
believe
one.
so.
So that's a flip game because that's road. At Corvallis is a toss-up.
Totally a toss-up.
Their defense is not very good. They almost lost this game against Fresno. They got a crucial pick 6, and then they play Wyoming, and I don't think Wyoming is all that good this year.
New Mexico State, by the way, sucks. New Mexico is not great, but not as bad as New Mexico State.
So if I'm looking at this and playing the win-loss,
Win-loss,
Are we going
loss.
to 9-3?
I'm seeing 3 straight right now, so that's 8-1. I'll go New Mexico State. That's 9-1. Oregon State's a toss-up, and Wyoming's a win. So yeah,
I answered 10-2.
I'm gonna go 9-3.
You gonna go
I'll
9-3?
go
9-3.
You go 9-3? Okay.
Dude, their defense is very poor at tackling. They will lose.
No
a game.
doubt. I think they're going to lose one more. Maybe it's the Oregon State game. Maybe it's another one. So I'm going to write down our flipped picks here so we can revisit these at the end of the year. By the way, again, poll questions up on these. Right now, the number one answer for our listeners, 42% saying 9-3 final record for Washington State.
I think they're going to have one dud in there and then lose another game.
36% said 10-2. That is where I answered. Let's go to the Huskies. So again, our preseason predictions on the Huskies. I had Washington at 7-5. Sprague, you had them at 6-6. Swag, you had them at 8-4. Are we flipping it or are we sticking it?
They're a tough team to figure out.
They are.
I think they lose this weekend at Indiana or next weekend at Indiana. I think they could beat USC.
Yeah, they get that game at home. They're another one of those that's a little bit different at home than they are on
They're
the road.
not winning at Penn State.
5-4.
They're not winning at Oregon.
5-5. Dude,
So they are 4-3. They're 4-3 right now.
I'm sticking.
You're going to stick with that?
Yeah, because I think they can beat USC at home, and that's the big one. Because everything else is, I think they lose to Indiana. I think they lose at Penn State and at Oregon, and they'll beat UCLA. It's the USC game is the difference.
Yep, that's a toss-up.
And I'm going to say they win that because I don't trust USC, and Washington at home is a different animal. I think they'll get up for that game. I'm going to stick it 6-6.
Sticking with 6-6.
Look at me predicting it.
That'd be a 2-3 finish to their year. Swag, sticking it.
I'll come on. There's no way they go 8-4.
He's got to flip it.
They'd have to go 4-1 the rest of the way.
That ain't
Not happening. UCLA is definitely a win. We all know that.
Yes, so bad.
That is a guaranteed win on their schedule. They will not lose at home to UCLA. At Penn State, at Oregon, as you mentioned, are tough.
Those are losses. Like, can we just be honest about that? Unless some devastating injuries happen.
Sure.
They're not beating Penn State at Penn State, and they're not beating Oregon at Oregon after what they've done the last 2 years against Oregon.
I do think they're going to beat USC at home.
Lanning will try to win that game by 50 points if he will do the 70.
He's going to try and run it
if
up.
he can.
I do think they're going to beat USC at home. I remember saying that back in August that I thought Washington had a chance to be better than USC, and somebody laughing at that. But I think I could see the USC season tail spinning again. Similar to the way that they did last year.
It already is.
It already is, sure. How much do we...
well.
I mean, this comes down to the question of 9 a.m. game at Indiana next weekend to me. Like, I see 2 wins on their schedule, so that would get them to 6. It comes down to the 9 a.m. game at... Is Indiana good?
Well, Indiana's 6-0, so I think we need to say, yes, they're
They're
good.
6-0. What's their best win this year?
Well, it's not a great schedule, but what I would say is Washington's offense can score, and I think they will because Indiana's defense isn't particularly their strength. Is that defense going to stop Indiana at home? 9 a.m. kick? They couldn't stop Iowa.
No.
9 a.m. kick.
No, they could not.
I think there's going to be a little juice to that game for Indiana fan. They're not diehards.
Not diehards.
But they're 6-0. They love this cigarette thing.
Yeah.
I can't. I have a hard time seeing that offense suddenly being slowed down by Huskies defense.
I'm going to stick with 7-5. I think they win that game, and I think they beat USC, and I think they beat UCLA. I'm going to stick with 7-5. Swag, final record prediction for the Huskies. What's your flip to?
I think I'll go 6-6.
6-6. Okay, we flip that to 6-6. Oregon State. We all had the same record prediction for Oregon State. We all thought preseason that the Beavs would go 9-3 this year.
I am.
They are 4-2.
No.
4-2.
Not gonna happen.
Flip it or stick it. What's our flip to then?
I'm flipping for sure. Look, UNLV, the tease of this game, the defense was bad, right? UNLV has to turn around and host Boise the following Friday.
Look ahead spot.
So it's a little bit of a look ahead.
UNLV's defense isn't all that great. They score.
But if they don't get enough guys back defensively, they're not going to be different.
Don't tackle in the manner that they didn't tackle against Nevada, then.
So this kind of hinges on this weekend. If they look similar and UNLV runs this up and does whatever they want, I'm having a hard time finding a win outside of Air Force. And I'm including San Jose State at home. San Jose State has explosive offense. They're higher ranked in a lot of these stats than Oregon State.
You're not wrong. We didn't think much of Colorado State coming to town, and that was a game that went to overtime.
And UNLV, if you lose that, I think you're losing at Cal. San Jose State, could you call that a toss-up? I think you should beat Air Force. And then Washington State at home at least. I'll call it a toss-up. And then at Boise, I just don't think they're going to win.
Yeah.
So I'm going to...
What's our flip to? 9-3 to what?
7-5.
7-5?
Yeah, I'm going to go 7-5.
Okay. I, too, will go 7-5 as well. I don't have much to add there. I think the logic is sound. This weekend's big. You are different at home, and you do have to remember that Washington State last year did not end the season well. So maybe there's something in the water in Pullman that they just can't end seasons well, or maybe they've got that monkey off their back because you do get them in Corvallis later in the season. And last but not least, by the way, let me tell you how the listeners feel about those two teams, by the way, because I forgot to do that. Oregon State, the number one answer right now, final record, 43% say 8-4, 42% say 7-5 or worse.
Yeah.
So
it's the toss-up
pretty
game,
fair.
Right?
Huskies, I asked, what will their final record be? 48% say 7-5 is where the majority of our audience is going right now. Last but not least, the Ducks. Now, I had 11-1 preseason. Sprague, you had 10-2 preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Swag even added a bonus game, even though we're doing regular season records, and said 13-0. Flipping it or sticking it?
I think if you asked us after the first 2 weeks, we might have some flipping going on.
Yes, we would have.
But they have figured this out, and I know college football is wild and unpredictable. I'm flipping. I don't know if I see a loss here. I don't think they're going to – they can half look at Purdue and still win that game in their sleep. Illinois at Eugene is interesting. I think Illinois was overlooking Purdue last weekend, but we'll see what they do.
Well, he had the new quarterback, new OC. I think Purdue was coming off a bye, too.
Michigan, I just don't think they're very good. That should be like, hey, they're just going to run the football. Even if it's ugly, I think they win.
Wisconsin's playing a little bit better right now. They found a little groove offensively.
How about that Rutgers Big Ten title game appearance there, Swag? Still feel good about that one?
Yeah.
I'm going to flip. I think they go undefeated. I think Swag might be nailed this one exactly.
Flipping it to 12-0. Swag, are you sticking? You're sticking?
You should.
Okay, I'm going to stick to it 11-1.
Where's the loss for you if you're looking at it? Is it at Michigan or at Wisconsin, or is it Illinois coming in and
I don't see them losing at home. I don't see somebody getting them at Autzen. They're really tough to beat there, and I think that place is going to be amped the rest of the year. If I were to bet right now, I would say the Wisconsin game.
Because the Michigan game would be a bad loss, in my opinion.
Well, I think either of them would be a great loss.
Either, but
the reality in the playoff is it doesn't, bad losses suck. You don't want to do it, but it's not going to tank your season. The travel thing I think has been a slightly overblown stat early in the season, but I've argued later in the season it may be having a bigger impact. So Oregon hasn't been hit by this East Coast travel thing yet. Now is when it begins for them. They go to Purdue, you're back at home against Illinois, then you go to Michigan the next week, then you're back home against Maryland, and then you go to Wisconsin. So every other week for the next, 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever.
And if you get weather in Wisconsin,
cold,
if it's cold,
middle
snowy,
of November,
wet, nasty.
I would actually argue you guys got this isn't why you won, but I'd argue you got a huge scheduling break the way it all kind of shook out.
Totally did.
Going into Ohio State.
Totally. We got a Friday night game. They had to play Saturday against Iowa.
We had 2 road games, but one of them was 30 miles south.
It was an in-state
north.
game. Exactly. Yeah. So I will stick with 11-1. I'd love to see them go undefeated. I just, injury happens, funky games happen. They've shown that they're capable of playing funky games. So I wouldn't be surprised if somebody tripped them up at some point. I will stick with 11-1. All right, there are our final answers. By the way, our audience on that one, you can go vote on all these at Dirt and Sprague on Twitter. Let me find the Oregon one quickly, and then we'll go 11-1 is your number one answer. 48% of people saying 11-1. A fun game of flip it and stick it with our preseason predictions. The NFL trade market is heating up, and one owner called out radio hosts yesterday, and then boy, oh boy, did he have the tables turn on him as the day went on. That is next for Your Swag with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by A&E Plumbing, Heating, and Air, serving Portland, Southwest Washington, and the Gorge. Online at aneheatingandcooling.com. It's hard to stop a train. The NFL trade train is off and rolling. After it was announced Davante Adams was going to the Jets, the Bills made a move for a wide receiver themselves, acquiring Amari Cooper from the Browns in exchange for a third-round pick this year and a sixth-round pick in 2026. Vikings needing a little depth to cover some injuries at running back, grabbed Cam Akers from the Texans for a couple of conditional late-round picks in 2026. Aaron Judge finally got his bat going. He had 3 RBI, including a 2-run home run late to put away Game 2 of the ALCS. Yankees a 6-2 win over the Guardians. They'll take a 2-0 lead to Cleveland for Games 3 and 4 on Thursday and Friday. Today it's Game 3 of the NLS in Queens. Dodgers turn to Walker Buehler, looking for a quality start as the Mets counter with Luis Severino. 5:08 first pitch, series all tied at a game apiece. You'll hear it on 910 ESPN Portland with pregame coverage beginning at 4:30. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Got a smart speaker? It's the Fan in your office and every room of your home. This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Well, if you've watched ESPN in the last 24 hours, you know that Jerry Jones was very frustrated with some radio hosts down in Dallas, and we played the audio for you yesterday.
Swag Dirt leans over and goes, how do the Chargers not beat the Cardinals by more than a field goal?
I mean, coaching advantage. Kyler Murray's a miniature human. How do they not win that game by 3?
They
make
beat
that
the
make
Niners
sense.
like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was lucky. Okay, late fumble, lucky win. Diana Rossini got a sit-down interview, not sit-down, but probably a phone call interview with Jerry Jones last night.
Yeah, she is based in New York. That was a phone call.
Phone call interview. Yeah. And she, hey, you're in the headlines today. What do you want to explain yourself? And he had these long quotes, basically like people in radio don't know what the hell they're talking about, and I'm not gonna take that kind of fire from people in radio. Now, if it was the fans, I would take it, but they don't know what they're doing.
Interesting. The fans are allowed to ask the question, but the people watching the game,
right,
to talk about the game,
can't do it.
They don't know. Okay.
RJ Choppy, who we've had on the show before, he's a part of that morning show in Dallas, had a great tweet last night because somebody was traded yesterday, which made everybody pay attention to Jerry Jones and his roster construction. Amari Cooper got traded yesterday. Do you know what Amari Cooper got traded for yesterday to the Bills?
3rd round pick, I believe.
3rd round pick. Yeah, not bad, right? 3rd round pick.
Good, yeah.
He's a good wide receiver. Still, I know he's had some drops this year, but he gets to go play for a functioning offense.
I think he's tired of Cleveland
he
is what happened.
Wanted out. Remember when the Ayuk stuff was circulating? He was like, please, God, trade for me, San Francisco. Get me out of here, man. He got traded yesterday for a 3rd round pick. Mm-hmm. Do you remember where Amari Cooper got traded from to go to Cleveland?
That would be Big D.
That was the Dallas Cowboys in 2022, 2 years ago. So Amari Cooper was 2 years younger.
Mm-hmm.
Remember what he got traded for?
I don't.
The Dallas Cowboys 2 years ago traded Amari Cooper to Cleveland for a 5th round pick. 2 years later, he got traded for a 3rd round pick.
He was pretty good in Dallas, too.
He was great in Dallas. And RJ Choppy had a tweet saying, instead of finding new radio hosts, maybe find a better trade value chart. That could help a little bit.
How about find a real general manager?
How about find a general manager?
An 82-year-old owner who thinks he knows as much as these
talking
other
about
managers?
The size of his players' units on live Instagram feeds with Jamie Foxx. So I did get a chuckle at that. The trade market has heated up. We had 2 wide receivers dealt yesterday, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper.
Yep.
We didn't even talk about it the other day. The Seahawks made a move for their defensive line.
Yeah.
Again, was it Roy Robertson Harris or whoever his name is from
Out of
Jacksonville?
Yep.
6th round pick, I think, went there. What do we make of the NFL trade market heating up a little bit?
Also, the Vikings traded for
That's
Cam
right.
Akers.
Cam Akers, they got him back yesterday.
Yeah, Aaron Jones is dinged up. Mixon came back, and Houston had another running back come back, so he was Akers was expendable.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting trade market.
When's the deadline? Next week or the week after?
It's election day.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is it November 5th?
It's election day.
The trade stuff. The Adams-Rodgers thing, I mean, can you flirt any harder publicly post breaking up?
Yeah.
My God, we all knew that was going to happen. I think the Cooper one's bigger than the Adams one, personally, because I think the Jets' defense is going to fall off a little bit. And I didn't see anything offensively that got me so much more jacked about what they are.
No.
I think his arm's kind of shot. I think he's a check-down captain. I'm just not impressed with Rodgers. I love the Cooper to Buffalo thing. One, I think it definitely inserts a number 1 receiver. 2, I'll take a chance on a guy who's a little bit of the dropsies this year, getting away from Deshaun Watson and feeling better about himself.
Yeah.
And 3, I actually think this is really good for Shakira and Keon Coleman.
Yes.
This is going to open things up for them. I think Keon Coleman isn't quite Justin Jefferson, but I still am really high on what he can be. And so I think this opens things up for Buffalo in a big, big way. And Buffalo, I mean, they just won at New York without having an Amari Cooper.
They did.
So I really liked that trade. Jerry Jones got absolutely destroyed nationally, and I was really happy to hear that. That is, and somebody DM'd us about this. I didn't respond. That is not an easy spot for a radio host.
No.
Any radios can get on and say how easy that would be to handle. They're lying to you. That is a tough spot because that's a huge business partner. And no, Jerry Jones doesn't pay them. Jerry Jones cannot fire them. But Jerry Jones is obviously the owner and can have a say in play-by-play stuff. And so you worry about that. I listened to their show coming in today because I wanted to hear how they respond. And Choppy basically is like, I'm done talking to him. And the other guy, his co-host, Sean, was basically happy to hear the support that he got nationally, and it's like, I'm not going to ask questions that he wants. I'm going to ask questions that everybody's thinking about.
Yes, you want to face. You're willing to face the fans, but not radio hosts. What the hell do you think the fans are going to ask you?
I just think that was an odd position to take. We are idiots.
Yes.
We are wrong all the time. Some of you are really smart. I read the text line. But also, I find it interesting. Fans are the ones can ask questions, but not the people who also are watching the games. And most of our have become fans.
Yeah.
That's what the media has become. It's like everybody's a fan. Even the beat writers are becoming fans.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. Biggest move yesterday to you, Swag? Cooper,
I
too?
think it was Cooper, not only for what he can do on the field, but you've got so much young talent to have somebody like Cooper that can show all those guys in practice week to week and in the film rooms and the preparation and all the little itty-bitty, tiny professional details that they need to assess and be prepared for. I think will make that entire wide receiver group get better as the season goes on.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Keon Coleman hasn't been he's not been Justin Jefferson good, to your point, but he's been solid. But you don't look at him right now. Maybe you will in a year or two and say that's a number one guy that we got to circle and
Hasn't
stop.
popped yet. Yeah.
Hasn't quite, but he's been good. He's been consistent. He's made some really nice plays. Just adding another weapon. We all knew that Buffalo at some point was going to have to do this. We just wondered when will it take place. I assumed it would happen in the offseason. Smart of them to kind of wait, see how the landscape played out. They're off to, what are they, 4-2, 6 games into the season. Got a nice win.
4-2, 2-game lead in the division.
2-game lead in the division, so you got off to a fine start.
It's a bad division,
It's a bad division, so you go add this weapon. I love that move for Buffalo.
What about Adams to the Jets? Because Orlovsky thinks that makes them make the playoffs now, and Jets fans have talked themselves into this is going to be what changes us.
Yeah, this is going to fix it, right?
Yeah, see, what's the bigger thing to you guys? And I might kind of feel the same about both because we always think all of these players make such an impact, and ultimately it proves quarterback and coaching
is the main thing.
What's the bigger deal to you guys? Hutchinson out for the Lions or Adams to the Jets?
Hutchinson out for the Lions because I don't take the Jets seriously, even with Devontae Adams. Now, the next month for them is manageable. There's the Colts are in there, the Cardinals are in there, the Pats are in there, so they have some winnable games. But they did lose to the Broncos at home, so and I know Devontae Adams will make their offense better this weekend. Are they going to make the?
I don't know that.
Sure. Are they going to make the playoffs if they lose this weekend? If they go to 2-5, are they going to make the playoffs?
No.
Right, so this weekend is a must-win game for them on Sunday Night
What about them if
Football.
they lost this weekend on Sunday? Who are they playing on Sunday Night Football? It's
Pittsburgh, in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so
they're going on the road.
You lose to Pittsburgh. What about them losing to Pittsburgh would make you feel like they're going to turn that around from
Nothing.
2-5?
Absolutely nothing. Their 2 wins on the year against New England and Tennessee. That's all they got.
By the way, correction from yesterday. Crosby did tweet out about that push and said that's like one of his favorite people.
Okay.
So that was one of those like,
Bro
yeah,
hug,
bro,
yeah.
and he kind of pushed him intensely.
Celebrating together. So trade market's heating up. Got more weeks until the deadline, but a couple of big wide receivers got dealt yesterday. Made for a fun afternoon. Hey, look at that. A little bit of NFL news out there. Amari Cooper to Buffalo, big one, and Devontae Adams obviously going to the Jets. Let's wrap it up. We got Game 3 of the NLCS tonight. Game 3 of the WNBA Finals? Yes, Game 3 of the W. We'll wrap it up. Answer the poll questions next on The Fan.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, let's take a look at the poll question from earlier in the show. Does their name being the Guardians lessen your excitement to watch them in the playoffs? Right now,
yeah, this took an interesting tone on Twitter.
I bet it did. 66% of people are saying yes, it does. I'm guessing that a lot of people are responding with their old name, and that should still be their name.
What
Damn
if we
it!
call them the Cleveland G's?
Cleveland G's.
Well, you mentioned the NWSL had a women's team introduced into Boston, and they're called what? The Boss Nation?
They're going to call themselves Boss Nation FC.
So not Boston,
Not
Boss
Boston,
Nation,
Boss
Boss Nation.
Nation.
And we know
FC.
Portland's looming with the WNBA. The Spiders were right there.
It's right there.
And
right
that
in your
logo.
grasp.
We
Right
had
in
the
your grasp.
logo. We had it all.
It's right there, man. And they let it pass. So 68% of you saying that, yes, it does lessen your excitement. Do you have a preview of Game 3 of the WNBA Finals for me tonight?
Yeah, I mean, look, the first game was an absolute choke job by Breonna Stewart and Liberty. They were up 18, and the Lynx came back, and they handled their business. They won it in controversial fashion. Liberty took care of business in Game 2.
At home. I'm assuming they were at home. Yep. Okay.
And now here you go to Minnesota. I'm hoping that Collier and company can keep this one tight, but 2 games in, I have my sample says Liberty are clearly better.
Better team if they don't gack away Game 1.
If they don't choke away Game 1, they are up 2-0. So I'm leaning Liberty here, unfortunately. But Collier's been really good this year. So I think Minnesota has a shot. They're at home. The Liberty have dominated this series.
It'd be fun to see Sabrina get a ring. Be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Okay.
Yeah.
Swag, any thoughts on Game 3? Are you going to watch tonight? Or are you just dialed into the Dodger game?
I will be dialed into the Dodger game, but I will probably have that on the second screen.
Number 2 screen?
So, yeah.
Okay.
It'd be cool when she's a Portland player with a ring.
With a ring.
Then
she's
it's
got to
cool.
bring championship pedigree to start our organization,
experience.
right?
Yeah.
Know how to do it from the, start.
By the way, that new
That's when you have
Sacramento
4 Hall of Famers on your roster.
the new
but-
Bay Area team, not Sacramento, Bay Area team.
The Valkyries.
They're gonna pick 6th in the draft, and so if that's our lot in life, we're not getting Juju Watkins.
No, we're not. That would suck.
So getting a Sabrina would be pretty crucial.
We're going to need somebody like that
Yes.
to build our team. Dodgers and Mets Game 3 of the NLCS at Citi Field. I'm sure the scene will be chaotic. Walker Buehler, Luis Severino. Are we watching? Do we care who wins?
This is the series I care about.
Okay.
I'm taking the Doyers.
The Doyers on the road.
I think the die.
Are they back, or your team's not done
I don't
anymore?
know that they're back, but I like them in this game.
NLCS.
It's game to game, man.
I know.
It's just,
I know.
If Bueller is still pitching in the 5th and 6th innings, then life is good.
Yeah, he had a rough start, but he bounced back well after giving up those runs early against San Diego.
Defense betrayed him in
That's
that
true.
game.
That's very true. So there you go. Good little show, folks. If you missed it, go check the podcast, 1080thefan.com. At Sprague and at 1080thefan, we had Josh Pate on, the commissioner of college football. He had some great thoughts on Autzen Stadium, his experience in Eugene this weekend, what the win meant for Dan Lanning. You can go find that, 1080thefan.com, at Dirt and Sprague and at 1080thefan. That will do it for us. Is Lanning on primetime today? Do we know? Because they're playing on a Friday. Thumbs up. Yes, he is. So he's on primetime today. So there you go. Thanks so much, everybody, for being a part of our Wednesday. We will talk to you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Calling us next. You're listening to 1080 The Fan.
Hola, amigos. Brad Evans here to help you beat the books with BetQL. Breaking news. The New York Jets have traded for all-pro receiver Davante Adams. Despite the star-studded addition, we're still fading the Jets this Sunday. The BetQL model is all in on Mike Tomlin and the Steelers to spoil the Rodgers-Adams reunion. Steelers plus 1.5 is a 4-star best bet. Bet smarter and beat the books. Download the BetQL and BetMGM apps today.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this. If something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy